Chapter 1411. Emperor Greatness Hall. You stand in my position. His voice was like that of a king, filled with an extraordinary domineering aura. In an instant, the entire sacred battle platform couldn't help but tremble. War God Palace. Everyone's hearts trembled. Above the clouds, a brilliant light shone. An earth-shattering aura pressed down, clashing with the monstrous aura emitted by the Emperor Greatness Hall. Under the distorted space, amidst the flashes of light, extraordinary figures appeared one after another. War God Hellion Chi. A person from the Emperor Greatness Hall said coldly. War God Hellion Chi sneered arrogantly. He looked down at the person who spoke. Ghost-faced Emperor Minister Qin Yong. War God Hellion Chi, ranked 9th on the wind cloud list. Ghost-faced Emperor Minister Qin Yong, ranked 8th on the wind cloud list. Both of them were old rivals. As soon as they met, they confronted each other. Following which, the second figure appeared. Looking at the slender and cold figure, the eyes of the beautiful woman from the Emperor Greatness Hall flashed with a cold light. War God Xing Shu, Qi Qianling. Long time no see, how have you been? Imperial Minister Lian Yu, who bing you? Qi Qianling raised her eyebrows, a hint of frivolity flashing in her eyes. Qi Qianling was ranked 11th on the wind cloud list. Hu Bingyu from the Emperor Greatness Hall was slightly weaker, ranked 14th. When the third figure revealed his true appearance, the entire sacred battle platform was in an uproar. That person was dressed in white and had an elegant demeanor, exuding a carefree aura. But everyone knew that such a handsome man with such a gentle appearance was called the hunting priest. On the sacred battle platform, a person from the Emperor Greatness Hall looked up. War God Ji Liang. Ji Liang smiled, revealing a charming curve at the corner of his mouth. Eight-armed Emperor Minister Wei Yan. Every word, every name affected the minds of everyone present. If the other geniuses on the wind cloud list were all stars, then they would definitely be the most eye-catching. War God Ji Liang's cultivation was terrifying, reaching 4th on the wind cloud list. And the eight-armed Emperor Wei Yan was not inferior to him, ranked 5th. It was as dazzling as the moon and stars. However, at this moment, everyone's gazes were gathered on the final blurry image in the void. You're my position now. Kill Emperor Mo's minister, Tang Bufan. His calm words were filled with pride and peerless elegance. The extremely handsome young man who was called Tang Bufan in the great Emperor Hall below lifted his eyes slightly and revealed a light smile on his face. Hee, I've been thinking about this position for a long time. How about you give it to me today? Invincible War God. Mang Yuan-tu. Boom. He had killed Emperor Mo's minister, Tang Bufan. Invincible God of War, Pai Yuan-tu. The moment the names of these two people rang out, an unprecedented monstrous wave was set off in the hearts of everyone present. Tang Bufan was ranked 2nd on the wind cloud list. His talent was so high, and his cultivation was so strong that he could no longer be described as a genius. He was a monstrous and terrifying existence, causing people's expressions to change when they talked about him. The invincible God of War, Si Yuan-tu, was also extremely terrifying. Just like his nickname, he had never suffered a defeat until now. Mang Yuan-tu had always been at the top of the wind cloud list. He was a true God of War. Under everyone's fearful gaze, Mang Yuan-tu's figure turned from blurry to clear. It was a young, domineering face like that of a king. His eyes were filled with pride, and he looked down on everyone present. The appearance of these two people was comparable to two shining suns. Lai Sheng Yuan, Lin Yinghe, Lei Zhen, Sido Hanya, Ji Tao, and the other geniuses on the wind cloud list were like stars on the edge of the moon. The others were reduced to mere foils and were overshadowed. Swoosh! A monstrous uproar was heard. The formless fighting spirit swept out in all directions. The confrontation between the great Emperor Hall and the God of War Palace was comparable to two prehistoric beasts. No one dared to take a step forward. So, the top 10 on the wind cloud list are all here. Yeah, it's spectacular. This moment will definitely go down in history. Everyone was sincerely amazed. Top 10 on the list. Number 10, Wind Frost City, Sidohanya. Number 9, Punishment War God, Gilianchi. Number 8, Ghost-Faced Emperor Official, Chinyo. Number 7, Five Elements Saint Tribe, Liningha. Number 6, Lightning Saint Tribe, Leijun. Number 5, Eight-Armed Emperor Official, Wei Yin. The fourth was the War Priest, Jiliang. Number 3, Lai Sheng Yuan with a half-demonic bloodline. Top 10, the Great Emperor Hall and the God of War Palace each occupied 3 spots. In Star War, God Qi Qianling and Jade Emperor Official Hu Bingyu were also in the top 15. Such a terrifying lineup. Who could compete with them? Of course, what everyone was most concerned about was the battle for the top of the Wind Cloud list. Battle God Tang Bufan of Sha Mo had obviously come prepared. The moment he appeared, he stepped onto the first sacred battle platform and pointed his sword at the top of the Wind Cloud list. His target was completely exposed. However, Mang Yuantu's undefeated reputation indicated that his position as the Overlord was unshakable. The battle between 2 heroes. The gathering of the wind and clouds. On the Dragon Python's sacred platform, the sky changed color. The sacred battle platform seems to be very lively. On a mountain peak a few miles away from the sacred battle platform, the martial ancestors team had been staying there. They were waiting for someone. Compared to when the sacred battle had begun, the number of martial ancestor disciples had decreased by almost 2/3. The battle with the Lingyun sect had caused them to lose many companions. However, compared to before, the aura of every martial ancestor seemed to have undergone an earth-shattering change. Every one of them exuded a sharp aura. Of course, it was not just their aura that had changed. At the same time, all of them exuded a powerful aura that had never been seen before. Almost everyone is here. At the edge of the cliff, Qiu Xingyi gazed into the distance. His eyes were sharp and calm like an eagle. Behind him stood Wang Li, Wu Yin, Qi Qianing, and a few other high-ranking disciples. They also exuded a different aura from before. How exciting. We're just one step away from the Holy War, Wang Li said. Don't be anxious. When junior brother Chu Hen arrives, we will go over. How can our martial ancestor miss the sacred battle? Qiu Xingyi replied, I'm already here. As soon as he finished speaking, a familiar voice came from the back of the mountain range and entered everyone's ears. Everyone in the martial ancestors' eyes lit up as they turned to look in the direction of the voice. Junior brother Chu Hen, Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yin, and the rest immediately led the crowd to welcome him. They saw Chu Hen and Yi Yao first. At the same time, what surprised them was that behind the two of them, there was another team with a strong aura. That's the Spirit Phoenix Valley? Everyone in the martial ancestor was slightly surprised. Senior brother Qiu. Chu Hen nodded to Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, and the rest. Once they met, everyone in the martial ancestor was even more surprised. Junior brother Chu Hen, your cultivation has increased again. With a single glance, Qiu Xingyi could tell what was different about Chu Hen. His temperament had clearly sublimated compared to before. Even the aura emitted from his eyes lacked the sharpness from before. Instead, there was an extra, transcendent calmness that was like an ancient well without ripples. Chu Hen smiled slightly. The same goes for all of you. With Chu Hen's current strength, he could also see through the cultivation of several people. Everyone in the martial ancestors' realm had improved. In addition to Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Qi Qianing, and Wei Yin had also stepped into the Saint King realm. It could be assumed that the sealed world had significantly improved everyone's cultivation. Junior brother Chu Hen, why are you with the people of Spirit Phoenix Valley? Wu Yin asked curiously. This is my old friend, Xia Qing. We met on the road, so we came together. Chu Hen introduced Xia Qing to everyone. So that's how it is. Several people nodded and gave a simple introduction to Xia Qing. Xia Qing also politely returned the greeting. In comparison, the people of Spirit Phoenix Valley were not so friendly. They just stood behind Xia Qing and did not intend to have any interaction with the martial ancestor. The people of the martial ancestor also saw some clues. It seemed that the people of Spirit Phoenix Valley did not like Chu Hen. Although they did not know the reason, They would not ask in such a situation. Where is Junior's sister Xianshuang? Why is she not with you? Wang Li looked at Chu Hen and Yi Yao in confusion. Chu Hen raised his eyes and glanced in a direction. She should be on her way. Before leaving Ice Emperor City, Chu Hen had left a rune mark. As long as Long Xuanshuang broke out, she would touch the mark and be noticed by Chu Hen. Then should we wait for her? Wang Li asked. No need. Chu Hen shook his head slightly, expressing his disapproval. Then his calm eyes looked in the direction of the sacred war platform in front of them, and his eyes gradually became deep. Go directly to the sacred war platform. Chapter 14:12. On the sacred battle platform, a storm was brewing. The dragons and pythons were fighting, and the sky was changing. At this moment, the confrontation between the Palace of War Gods and the Great Emperor Palace had begun. Their arrival was like the arrival of two huge monsters. The others didn't even dare to breathe too loudly. For war gods, for emperor ministers, there was a strong rhythm, as if a sharp sword was about to be unsheathed. Tang Bufan, it's not that easy to stand in this position. Meng Yuna looked down at the four people from the Great Emperor Palace, his tone emotionless. Tang Bufan raised his eyebrows slightly, his handsome face exuding an elegant aura. He didn't reply, but smiled and said, Don't you guys have 5 war gods? Why are there only 4 of them? Is the other one trying to sneak an attack? As soon as he said this, a low clamor arose outside the arena. He Lianqi and Qi Qianling's faces were slightly cold. You only have 4 emperor ministers, so we naturally have 4 war gods too. If we bully you with numbers, I'm afraid you guys won't accept it. Oh, so that's how it is. I thought the remaining war god was waiting for an opportunity to strike. Why would a dead man wait for an opportunity to strike? Meng Yuantu's calm voice echoed. Everyone in the room was shocked. Even the 3 war gods beside him looked at each other in astonishment. The crowd below the stage was even more muffled. War god Qinlu is dead? You just found out? It's not a secret anymore. Oh my god, when did this happen? It's been more than a month. Who did it? A nameless person. Although Qinlu's death was no secret, no one dared to mention it in front of the 4 people from the Palace of War Gods. But unexpectedly, Meng Yuantu had actually spoken about this matter himself. In particular, the other party's expression and tone were as calm as the water in an ancient well, without the slightest fluctuation of emotions. It was as if the dead man wasn't his companion, but an insignificant outsider. Tang Bufan, I'm afraid you're going to fail if you're trying to distract me with this. I'm sorry to tell you that I'm not angry in the slightest. Natural selection, survival of the fittest, and the weak are eliminated. Dust Slaughter was eliminated, so his death is his death. All I can do is eliminate the other weak ones, eliminate them. Weaklings, eliminated. The hearts of everyone present trembled. Anyone could sense the undisguised sharpness in the other party's calm tone. Meng Yuantu looked down at the 4 people from the Grand Emperor Hall. Then he slowly raised his hand and pointed at Tang Bufan, who was ranked 2nd on the leaderboard. I hope you won't disappoint me. Whoosh. As soon as his voice fell, a heavy ring of trembling reverberated in the air. In that instant, a powerful cyclone appeared in the air above the first sacred battle platform. Tang Bufan, who had killed Emperor Mo's subjects, narrowed his eyes, and a sharp cold light flashed across his eyes. Swish! A circle of faint chi patterns spread out on the surface of the platform. As if teleporting, Tang Bufan disappeared on the spot like a ghost. Where did he go? The spectators' eyelids twitched. Before they could keep up with the rhythm, in the next instant, an afterimage appeared in the air where the 4 war gods were. Along with a slight fluctuation in the air, Tang Bufan suddenly appeared behind the 4 of them. What a terrifying speed! The geniuses on the leaderboard were all shocked. He Lianqi, Qi Qianling, and Zhiliang all turned to look at Tang Bufan, only to see a ball of dazzling golden light spreading out from Tang Bufan's body. The abnormally powerful energy ripples caused the space around it to distort, and the powerful impact was directed at Meng Yuantu's back. Bang! A dazzling beam of light that was comparable to the descent of the stars immediately exploded in the air. Along with the waves of golden light, Qi Qianling, Jiliang, and Qi Qianling quickly turned into streaks of light and dispersed. Amidst the chaotic shockwave, Mang Yuan too, who had a calm expression on his face, was unharmed. On the contrary, Tang Bufan, who had attacked first, had disappeared. No one saw clearly how Mang Yuantu had neutralized his opponent's attack, but everyone was well aware that not many of them could react to Tang Bufan's attack. "He's up there," someone exclaimed. Everyone's eyes narrowed into a line. In the sky above them, a blurry shadow faintly appeared. Tang Bufan looked down, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He raised his right arm and stretched it backward. He flipped his 5 fingers, and 3 fluorescent lights flashed between his fingers. Then he waved his hand. Whoosh! Along with the rapid sound of wind breaking, 3 golden light shadows pierced through the sky, like the aurora that traced back to the galaxy 10,000 years ago, and directly attacked Mang Yuantu. Mang Yuantu stood in the same place, and his calm eyes quickly reflected the approaching light shadows. The light shadows were 3 dark blades that resembled a triangular rhombus. The air was quickly sliced apart. Behind Dark Blade, there were traces of chi patterns. Everyone could feel the terrifying penetrative power of the attack. However, in the face of such a lethal threat from Tang Bufan, Mang Yuantu appeared indifferent. His body moved slightly, and it was as if there were overlapping shadows. His movement seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 beams of light streaked past Mang Yuantu's shoulder, left rib, and right leg. The angles were extremely precise. However, before everyone could marvel at Mang Yuantu's powerful reaction, Tang Bufan suddenly bent his 5 fingers, and something surprising happened. The 3 dark blades that flew past Mang Yuantu actually stopped moving. "Retract!" Tang Bufan shouted. Whoosh! The air reverberated with the sound of a string being tightened, and the 3 dark blades converged toward the center at the same time. At the same time, sharp streams of air sliced toward Mang Yuantu from both sides. "So that's how it is." Mang Yuantu looked around and murmured softly, "Whoosh!" The moment his voice fell, the air whirled, and Mang Yuantu immediately turned into a wisp of shadow and disappeared on the spot. Whoosh! A slight vibrating sound overlapped, and a few faint energy ripples appeared where Mang Yuantu was a second ago. What kind of move is that? I don't understand it at all. Most of the people in the audience were dumbfounded by what they saw. It seemed like Tang Bufan's attack was not that brilliant. But why did Mang Yuantu dodge for no reason just now? Lin Yinghe, Lei Zhen, Situ Hanya, Lai Shunyuan, and the other powerhouses on the list of honor looked somewhat solemn. Jitao narrowed his eyes and said to Yizhou, who was not far away, in a deep voice, "Do you understand?" Yizhou also frowned slightly, and then his pupils shrank. He raised his eyelids and said, "It's lines." "Lines?" The moment he said that, everyone present was even more shocked. Everyone's eyes widened, and they stared at the sky. Under the refraction of the sun, they could see 3 extremely thin threads of light faintly discernible in the void. There really are lines. I can see them. So, it was the sound of lines cutting through the air. In an instant, everyone came to a sudden realization. There were 3 long lines behind Tang Bufan's 3 dark blades. Even if Mang Yuantu dodged the attack of the dark blades, Tang Bufan could still pull the long lines toward the center. The thin lines were like the threads of a blade, and they were extremely powerful. Everyone who came to a sudden realization could not help but shake their heads and sigh. It seemed like an ordinary attack, but in fact, it was filled with killing intent. It was just a thin thread, but it could become a dangerous weapon in Tang Bufan's hands. This move is quite novel, but it's a pity that it can only be used to sew clothes. Mang Yuantu, who had appeared 100 meters away, had a hint of mockery on his face. Tang Bufan smiled faintly. "Don't speak too early. Don't let me sew your clothes too badly later." Tang Bufan crossed his arms in front of him, and there were traces of fluorescent light between his fingers. Swoosh! Whoosh! In the next instant, More than 10 dark blades shot out in succession. Each dark blade was like an aurora that shuttled through the sun, moon, and stars at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, there were thin and long lines of light trailing behind the dark blades. Mang Yuan-Tu's eyes darkened slightly, and he grabbed at the void with one hand. Buzz! In an instant, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth from all directions converged into Mang Yuan-Tu's palm like a river. Then, he threw out his palm. A majestic wind and rain stirred up, and a fierce palm energy immediately whistled down. Chi! As soon as the two forces collided, the surprising thing was that all the dark blades actually directly penetrated the powerful palm energy. The sharpness of the sword was fully displayed as it charged straight ahead. They were like divine arrows that pierced through the sky. Everyone was incomparably shocked. Such penetrative power was truly terrifying. Mang Yuan-Tu dodged to the side again after failing to block the attack. Meanwhile, Tang Bufan used his extremely powerful control to launch a long-range attack. Inside and outside the sacred battle platform, everyone's eyes were focused on the two people in the void. In fact, no one expected that the first battle would be between these two people. All the other powerhouses on the Wind Cloud list were watching with rapt attention. Many geniuses who wanted to challenge the Wind Cloud list suppressed the restlessness in their hearts. The first on the Wind Cloud list against the second on the Wind Cloud list. No matter who it was, they would all give each other great respect. The other three war gods of the War God Palace and the other three Emperor Ministers of the Grand Emperor Palace were just spectators at this moment. They had no intention of participating at all, no matter who it was. This was a rare battle of the Wind Cloud list. Both of them seemed to be quite conservative. Yes, they're the two strongest on the Wind Cloud list, after all. They're just testing each other's strength. Who do you think will win? It's hard to say. Tang Bufan's attack is very beautiful, but Mang Yuan-Tu hasn't even started to use his full strength. Both of their cultivations have reached the peak of the Ninth Order Saint King realm. From the looks of it, they're almost evenly matched. Swish! The continuous long-range attacks could be described as a deluge of heavenly flowers, dragging beautiful threads of light in the void. However, no matter how fast Tang Bufan's attacks were, or how tricky the angles of his attacks were, he could not even touch Mang Yuan-Tu's figure. How boring! Mang Yuan-Tu coldly said as he dodged several of the hidden blades in succession. Is that so? Tang Bufan raised his handsome eyebrows. With a thought, he raised his palms. In an instant, all the dark blades that he had shot out exploded like fireworks in the sky. The threads of light were quickly pulled taut. They were shuttling around Mang Yuan-Tu in all directions. Buzz! All the threads of light that were pulled taut glowed with a dazzling golden light. One after another, the threads of light intertwined in the void like a three-dimensional chaotic net. The three-dimensional net crisscrossed, wantonly slanting across the sky. It covered hundreds of feet of the heavenly domain, sealing off Mang Yuan-Tu's escape route. Everyone in the crowd stared at the scene in the void in amazement. The three-dimensional chaotic net was magnificent. You think this can trap me? Mang Yuan-Tu sneered. The moment Mang Yuan-Tu's voice fell, dense mysterious runes quickly appeared on all the threads of light. In an instant, every inch of the thin thread of light surged with an extremely powerful force. This is not an ordinary thread. It's the power of my true origin. Tang Bufan's eyes seemed to flash like stars. His lips moved slightly as he shouted in a deep voice. Heavenly Net Array, explode. Chapter 14:13. Heaven's Net Array, explode. The magnificent golden light rays intertwined with each other, and countless tiny secret spells appeared. As soon as Tang Bufan finished speaking, an extremely terrifying force surged violently. Along with the trembling eyes of the audience, all the light rays shuttling through the void suddenly shone brightly. Following that, the powerful runes on the light rays transformed into a huge explosive force. Boom! Bang! In an instant, a strong storm swept through the sky. Every inch and every segment of the light contained an astonishing explosive power. Endless dazzling light rays exploded one after another. Rays of golden light blossomed in the sky and intertwined with each other toward Mang Yuantu, who was in the center. The three-dimensional light net covered a large area. No matter how fast Mang Yuantu's reaction speed was, he could not escape from the explosion range of the heaven's net array in an instant. The mighty shock wave exploded in the sky. The powerful forces gathered and instantly formed an extremely chaotic storm area. It was as if thousands of stars were exploding at the same time. The entire sacred battle platform was directly dyed in golden light. The strong shock wave whistled down, and dust piled up. It was extremely oppressive. Gasp! Everyone's hearts trembled as they stared at the sky that was shaking uneasily. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Unbelievable. Such a thin light ray actually has such a shocking explosive force. It should be the runes on the light rays. Tang Bufan used his true origin energy to weave a large net, and then covered it with runes to completely explode. It's really too high. It's impossible to defend against. His magnificent fighting style made everyone feel even more respect and awe for Tang Bufan. Endless golden light rays engulfed the invincible war god Mang Yuantu in the blink of an eye. But in the next second, an incomparably rapid, dark-colored energy wind pillar rose from the center of the golden storm. Rumble. The space in all directions shook, and the strong spiral wind pillar stirred up thousands of air currents. Immediately after, under everyone's shocked gazes, a monstrous god-fiend figure appeared in the center of the exploding storm. The huge figure's entire body was flowing with extremely strong wind force. It was like the spirit of the wind that caused the storm. The whirlwind phantom raised its arms and swung them down. The combined arms were comparable to a giant blade that could cut the heavens. Bang! Shockwaves splashed everywhere, and the aftershocks shook the sky. Layers upon layers of raging golden storms surged out from within. Everyone was shocked again and again. Under the hurricane, Mang Yuantu's tyrannical aura overflowed. His calm face was calm and unperturbed. Everyone below was shaken by his aura. There was still not a single scar. The other party's strength was very touching. Boss is probably going to start taunting. War priest Ji Liang crossed his arms in front of him, looking nonchalant. On the side, the dueling war god He Lianxi and the star disparity war god Qi Qianling also smiled disdainfully. The three emperor vassals on the first holy battle platform had relaxed expressions. He wasn't too nervous. Mang Yuantu is still as powerful as ever. Ghost Mask Emperor Subject Qin Yong said in a low voice. Isn't that right? If senior brother Tang wants to win, I'm afraid he can't take it lightly. The eight-armed emperor, official Wei Yin, nodded. Above the void, two figures stood. One had an aura as majestic as a mountain, while the other had an aura as vigorous as the sea. These moves of yours are really weak. Mang Yuantu hovered in the sky. His deep eyes were like an impenetrable sea of stars. He looked indifferently at Emperor Mo's Tang Bufan. My interest in you is rapidly diminishing. If this is all you've got, the battle will probably end in 10 moves. Buzz. The moment his voice fell, waves of energy surged, and an incomparably majestic aura pressed down. The terrifying phantom god in the wind directly spread its 5 giant fingers and attacked Tang Bufan. The giant aura enveloped the sky and covered the sun. Tang Bufan's figure was like a butterfly in the wind. As you wish. Tang Bufan's eyes flashed. Then his aura rose, and he directly faced the giant palm that was reaching out. As he moved, Tang Bufan's body burst out with a glass-like light. Streaks of tassel-shaped golden light patterns surrounded his body. Bang! A violent explosion sounded. The moment the two collided, Tang Bufan was like a sharp, divine blade, forcibly piercing through the giant palm of the hurricane phantom. The eyes of the people below twitched. It was obvious that Tang Bufan was getting serious. After piercing through the giant palm, Tang Bufan soared into the sky. At the same time, the golden light that burst out of his body became more and more intense. You have to be careful, invincible, god of war. His speed soared, and he was like a thousand-year aurora. Tang Bufan swept up a piercingly cold and extraordinary sharp aura and attacked Mang Yuantu in front of him. A cold light flashed in Mang Yuantu's eyes. It's finally starting to look like it. Roar! The hurricane phantom behind Mang Yuantu once again raised its other arm. Its giant fist contained a tremendous amount of divine power, and it smashed toward Tang Bufan. The latter was still unwavering, and his attack was as straight as a beam of light. Bang! The moment the giant fist came, Tang Bufan burst out with an incomparably dazzling radiance. In the next moment, an afterimage dashed out from the dazzling radiance. Rumble! Under the shocked gazes of the crowd below, the hurricane phantom's fist directly exploded. The afterimage burst out at the speed of light, and like a sharp blade that pierced through the sky, the giant phantom's entire arm was cut into pieces. This power! The genius disciples of the various sects all widened their eyes. Tang Bufan's attack was like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. He was completely unstoppable. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the giant arm of the hurricane phantom was directly smashed into pieces. The powerful attack whistled all the way down, and the giant body of the wind pillar immediately collapsed into pieces. After destroying the giant phantom, the afterimage that pierced through the sky didn't weaken in the slightest. It once again attacked Mang Yuantu in front of him. A sharp, murderous aura swept toward him. The corners of Mang Yuantu's eyes slightly narrowed. He suddenly raised his palm, and a ball of blue flowing patterns appeared in his hand. Insignificant tricks. The flowing patterns rotated rapidly, and at the same time, they surged out and interweaved into a sharp giant blade. Bang! The giant blade, which was full of murderous aura, hit the shadow right in the middle. The chaotic aftermath immediately broke out. Everyone's heart tightened, especially those who favored Tang Bufan's side. They couldn't help but frown. Tang Bufan's movements are too big. Yes, no matter how strong his attack is, he will still be stopped. However, before they could finish their words, behind Mang Yuantu, a ghost-like figure appeared. Here comes the insignificant tricks. An indifferent voice came from behind them, and at the same time, an incomparably powerful palm energy attacked them. How could this be? The crowd below the sacred battle platform was shocked. The corner of Mang Yuantu's eyes turned cold. He saw that Tang Bufan's aura was monstrous, and the power in his palm was comparable to the undercurrents of the deep sea. Without saying anything, he immediately turned his body sideways and raised his palm to meet the attack. Bang! The two palms collided, and the sound of true origin energy exploding was like two muffled thunderclaps. An astonishing shock wave swept out, and the space was distorted. The astral wind howled, and Mang Yuantu was sent flying backward from the impact. Tang Bufan is here. Who was that just now? Everyone was shocked and confused. At the same time, the giant blade that Mang Yuantu had just condensed exploded. Following the chaotic flow of air, a blurry afterimage immediately became clear and distinct. To two people? Countless people in the room were stunned. In the void, apart from Mang Yuantu and Tang Bufan, there was a third figure. From afar, the figure was wearing a loose black cloak. Half of his head was covered, and his limbs were also shrunk inside. Only half of his lifeless face could be seen. He finally appeared. Hanyan Sex Yi Zhou said in a deep voice. At the same time, Lai Xingyuan, Lin Yinghe, Lei Zhen, Ji Tao, Situ Hanya, and the other geniuses on the Wind Cloud list looked serious. It's starting to get interesting. Dueling War God, He Lianqi, smiled strangely. The priest War God, Xing Shu War God, and the three emperor ministers of the Great Emperor Palace also looked serious. Could this be the rumor? That's right. The signature secret technique that killed Emperor Mo's minister Tang Bufan. The geniuses squinted their eyes and whispered, "Puppet technique." on the peak of a mountain a few miles away from the sacred battle platform. Go directly to the sacred battle platform, Chu Hen said calmly after meeting up with the martial sect members. Without waiting for Qiu Xingyi and the others to agree, Xia Qing stepped forward and grabbed Chu Hen's arm. Think about it. After today, the sacred battle platform will end. On the last day of the sacred battle platform, it would usher in an unprecedented battle on the wind cloud list. And, along the way, Chu Hen had made quite a few grudges. If he showed himself, he would not be able to avoid revenge. Chu Hen faintly smiled and lightly broke free from her lily-white hands. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. After saying that, he turned to Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yan, and the others. Disciples of the martial sect, listen up. Here, ascend this sacred battle platform. Yes. With regard to Chu Hen's order, no one doubted it. However, just as everyone was about to cross the last few miles of the sacred battle platform, a cold wind blew and the air current from all directions whistled. Accompanied by the rapidly darkening sky, an unparalleled dark aura suddenly shrouded over. Surnamed Chu, I'm afraid you won't be able to ascend the sacred battle platform alive. The faces of the martial sect members changed. However, the eyes of the Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples lit up. Chapter 1414. Tang Bufan's signature secret technique to kill Emperor Mo puppet technique. In the void, apart from Tang Bufan and Mang Yuan-tu, the third figure in a black cloak and long robe locked onto everyone's gaze. It was a lifeless figure. His appearance was no different from an ordinary person. Beneath the loose cloak was a pair of deep and serene eyes, but none of the people present could sense the slightest aura of a living person from him. There was only a faint sense of evilness and a sharp sense of danger. It's finally starting to look like it. The undefeatable god of war, Mang Yuan-tu, raised his eyebrows. A hint of interest appeared on his calm face. The corner of Tang Bufan's mouth twitched, and a smile appeared on his handsome face. The good stuff must be hidden at the end. Then I really want to see this legendary puppet technique. Don't underestimate your opponent. Otherwise, you'll get hurt. His frivolous tone was full of provocation. As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp glint flashed across their eyes. Whoosh, whoosh. The air rippled, and afterimages intertwined like ghosts. The two immediately disappeared, and then crossed a distance of 100 feet in the blink of an eye. The two figures clashed, and their majestic auras collided. Violent shockwaves swept across the sky. The moment a huge wave was set off, both of them retreated. However, as Mang Yuan-tu retreated, an extremely sharp wind slashing sound came from his flank. Mang Yuan-tu's eyes slanted, and half of his cold, expressionless face was revealed under his cloak. The other party was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Mang Yuan-tu, and a sharp short blade emerged from his sleeve. A terrifying murderous aura surged as the short blade flashed towards Mang Yuan-tu's throat. Oomph! Mang Yuan-tu sneered, but he had no intention of dodging. When his opponent's short blade was less than 10 centimeters away from his throat, a blue arc of light streaked across the sky like the moonlight in the night. The pupils of everyone below trembled. The black-robed puppet's arm, which was holding the blade, was neatly cut off at the wrist. Mang Yuan-tu's arm glowed with a netherworld flame. His speed was so terrifying that it made people's hearts palpitate. However, the puppet that had its wrist cut off did not react at all. Whoosh, along with the slight tremble of the sharp weapon, a sharp blade actually protruded out of the severed wrist. At the same time, Tang Bufan's second round of attack followed. Mang Yuan-tu's expression turned cold. He raised his hand and pushed the black-robed puppet away, then immediately turned around to attack Tang Bufan. Bang! Their palms collided firmly, and the surging spiral chi tides rolled like a hurricane. Even though Mang Yuan-tu's reaction was perfect, Tang Bufan, who was the main attacker, still had the upper hand. Mang Yuan-tu was clearly moving backwards. Moreover, before he could completely stabilize his body, Tang Bufan and the black-robed puppet, one at the front and the other at the back, burst forth with explosive speed. They each dragged a series of blurry afterimages in the void and attacked the target in a joint attack. His aura was aggressive and sharp. Their attacks were so fast that no one could catch a glimpse of them. Like a spark, Tang Buffon's fierce palm force and the black-robed puppet's sharp blade had already arrived in front of Mang Yuantu. Just as the sharp blade was about to pierce through his opponent's back, a phantom flashed past, and Mang Yuantu suddenly disappeared on the spot. Tang Buffon and the puppet's joint attack missed its target. In the next second, Mang Yuantu appeared in the sky 100 meters away. "You're pretty fast," Tang Buffon laughed. Mang Yuantu was still calm. "I don't want interesting things to end too early." "Is that so? Then I'll have to experience the invincible war god skills." As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Buffon and the black-robed puppet launched another fierce attack. An extremely fast-paced chase immediately broke out in the sky above the sacred battle platform. Most of the people below were already a little dazzled. They could not keep up with the rhythm of the three figures at all. In the eyes of countless people, they could only see three afterimages continuously colliding and intersecting with each other. The void was also constantly exploding with all kinds of chaotic and powerful astral winds. Every time they collided, it looked like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. Perhaps in the eyes of others, the battle in the void did not seem particularly intense. However, in the eyes of Lai Xingyuan, Lei Zhun, Lininghe, Sito Hanya, and the other geniuses on the sacred battle platform, this battle was absolutely unprecedented. From their extremely serious expressions, it was obvious that this battle was very entertaining. "They're really monsters. They're not slowing down at all," Hanyan Sex Izhou muttered in a deep voice. "And they're getting faster and faster." Ji Tao, who was not far away, nodded and sighed. Hearing the simple conversation between the two of them, the people around them were shocked. What they did not know was that although Tang Buffon and Mang Yuantu seemed to be retreating after a single collision, in reality, every time they clashed, they would explode several times, sometimes even more than 10 times. In fact, in a short period of time, the two of them had consecutively struck out 20 to 30 palm strikes. If one were to look closely, they would clearly see that the space above the sacred battle platform had already become distorted. The puppet sorcery technique really lives up to its name. The geniuses on the sacred battle platform frowned and shook their heads in admiration. "I heard that the puppet sorcery technique requires thin threads to control the movements of the puppets, right? Why don't I see the connection between Tang Buffon and the puppets?" Using threads to control the puppets is the lowest level of the puppet sorcery technique. Let alone Tang Buffon, even a slightly accomplished puppet master wouldn't use this method. That's right. The flaws in controlling the threads are too big. Once the threads are cut, the connection between the puppets and the puppets will be lost. Highly accomplished puppet masters will use their true origin energy to control the puppets. Even if the enemy cuts off the connection, they can reconnect in an extremely short period of time. Then what method does Tang Buffon use? He's the highest level of puppet master. He can control the movements of the puppets with his thoughts. Thoughts? That's right. To the most outstanding puppet master, the puppets are like clones that are separated from him. Even if they're far away, he can still control the movements of the puppets perfectly. For a powerful puppet master like Tang Buffon, he can even behead someone from 1,000 miles away. So exaggerated? It's not exaggerated at all. Do you know about the blood poison sect in the past? They committed all kinds of crimes and committed all kinds of crimes. Later on, no one knows how they offended the great Emperor Palace. At that time, Tang Buffon, who was hundreds of miles away, directly controlled the puppets and went to the blood poison sect. It's said that dozens of Saint King stage powerhouses and hundreds of high-ranking members of the blood poison sect were slaughtered by a puppet that night. They didn't even have the ability to escape. Can you imagine that scene? Controlling the puppet with his thoughts, beheading someone from 1,000 miles away. The crowd who didn't know much about Tang Buffon gasped when they heard this. They couldn't help but recall that night when the dark moon was hidden behind the dark clouds. The spectacular scene of a cold, lifeless machine eradicating the blood poison sect overnight appeared in their minds. Meanwhile, The person who controlled the life killer was still hundreds of miles away. Shock. Awe. There were many exclamations of admiration. Countless people couldn't help but feel their hearts throb for Tang Bufan. If that's the case, isn't it 2 against 1? You can say that. How terrifying. Everyone on the Sacred War platform was watching. On the other hand, at the peak of a mountain a few kilometers away, a scene that seemed to have been preordained by fate happened. Senior brother Xiao Yao. Looking at the powerful dark aura that shrouded them like a black tide, everyone from the Spirit Phoenix Valley was overjoyed. On the contrary, everyone from the martial sect was shocked. What an amazing dark force, Wang Li said with a frown. Could it be Xiao Yao Cheng, who is ranked 12th on the honor list? Qi Qinying said in a low voice. A storm was coming and the air waves were monstrous. Thousands of black light vortexes floated between heaven and earth. As the dark nebula that looked like a millstone shone in the sky, a black-clothed man with a cold and gloomy aura gradually appeared in the dense dark light. Looking at the cold and familiar figure, Xia Qing, Huangfu Hao, and the others from the Spirit Phoenix Valley had completely different feelings. After more than a month, Xiao Yaocheng's aura had obviously changed. His previous elegant demeanor was completely gone, and his eyes were filled with coldness and hostility. He was completely like an evil person who walked out from the darkness. How can this be? Xia Qing clenched her fists and pursed her red lips. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. He actually merged with the soul of the Battle Phoenix in such a short time. Please remember the domain name of this book. Come, Wonderful Book House. Chapter 1415. Xiao Yao Cheng. He was a top genius ranked 12th on the list. He was also the only monstrous genius on the list who possessed the bloodline limit of the sacred body of darkness. Buzz, a vast and majestic aura enveloped them, causing the faces of the people from the martial sect to change. As expected of the person ranked 12th, his aura is so terrifying, Wu Yin said in a low voice. Wang Li narrowed his eyes and said with a gloomy face, I'm afraid his cultivation has already entered the top 10 of the list. Naturally, everyone in the martial sect knew of Xiao Yao Cheng's name. But what surprised them was that Xiao Yao Cheng seemed to be at odds with Chu Hen. Senior brother Xiao Yao, you're back. I knew that senior brother Xiao Yao would definitely make it to the Holy War. I feel much more at ease now that he's back. There is no doubt that Xiao Yao Cheng was the pillar of support for the disciples of the Spirit Phoenix Valley. He had always been the soul of the team. Everyone's face was filled with excitement. Su Li, who was at the front of the team, was happy but also worried as he looked at Xia Qing not far away. In fact, Xia Qing was also very surprised at this moment. According to her calculations, Xiao Yao Cheng would definitely have to wait until the end of the Holy War before he could fuse with the soul of the Battle Phoenix. But it was unbelievable that he had done it before that. Moreover, he had stopped them here. Compared to Xia Qing's worries, the disciples of the Spirit Phoenix Valley did not care about it at all. Senior brother Xiao Yao is really powerful to be able to fuse with the power of the soul of the Battle Phoenix so quickly. If I had to say, the soul of the Battle Phoenix should belong to a genius like senior brother Xiao Yao. Unlike someone who obtained the inheritance treasure of the Phoenix ancestor and turned around to help an outsider. These days, the people of the Spirit Phoenix Valley had been complaining about Xia Qing. Especially since she had been protecting Chu Hen, it made everyone even more dissatisfied. Now that Xiao Yao Cheng had returned, all the negative emotions were released. I'm sorry, I made you happy too early. Xiao Yao Cheng stood in the void, a black light surging around his body. His cold and playful eyes stared at Chu Hen as if he was looking at a dying man. Without waiting for Chu Hen to answer, Xia Qing, who was behind him, said, I've already given you the Battle Phoenix soul. Do you still think it's not enough? Ha ha ha! Xiao Yao Cheng laughed sarcastically. What do you think? If you think that's enough, then why am I standing here? I'm the one who let you down. It has nothing to do with others. Xia Qing said in a low voice. You didn't do me wrong. Xiao Yao Cheng denied it, and the smile on his face became more and more playful. On the contrary, I have to thank you. Thank you for bringing me the soul of the Battle Phoenix. I will forgive you and your brother, but today he must die." A frosty killing intent overflowed. The faces of everyone from the martial sect were extremely solemn. Although they did not know why Chu Hen had provoked such a terrifying enemy, no one showed fear on their faces. "I've long heard of your great name, but if you want to hurt my junior brother Chu Hen today, I'm afraid you'll have to ask for our permission first." Qiu Xingyi's voice was high, and he exuded an extraordinary aura. "Do you think a motley crew like you can stop me?" Xiao Yao Cheng said disdainfully. "Humph, I have to stop you even if I can't." After saying that, Wang Liwuyin, Qi Qianying, and the other martial sect disciples all stood forward. Even though they were facing an expert ranked 12th on the list, they did not show any fear. "Ha ha ha!" Xiao Yao Cheng laughed wantonly. Following that, his laughter stopped, and an invisible killing aura immediately leaked out. "Since you all want to die, how can I not fulfill your wish, Buzz?" As his words fell, a shocking, majestic aura crushed down. The eyes of everyone from the martial sect were filled with a cold light. Xiao Yao Cheng clenched his 5 fingers and flipped his hand in the void. In an instant, accompanied by an unusually sharp killing intent, the black vortex light pattern floating between heaven and earth suddenly became sharp. "Dark Death Ray!" Xiao Yao Cheng yelled. Streaks of incomparably sharp black light beams dragged the tassel-shaped cyclones as they descended. The unshakable thread of death enveloped everyone. The pupils of Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, and the others quietly narrowed. Swish! The extremely terrifying Dark Death Ray was more destructive than before. Xia Qing, Huang Fu Hao, Yi Yao, and the others' expressions changed slightly. After obtaining the soul of the battle phoenix, Xiao Yao Qing's cultivation had greatly increased. His opponent's realm had at least reached the peak of the 7th Order Saint King realm. "All of you disappear." Xiao Yao Qing's face was filled with a smug grin. Buzz! An incomparably strong spatial rhythm spread out, and a shocking scene occurred. All the black pillars of light that were descending actually stopped a few meters above the heads of the people from the martial sect. "This is..." Everyone was startled. Looking carefully, they saw a layer of foam-like purple semicircular light arc shrouding the sky above the martial sect people, completely blocking the incomparably sharp black light beams. "You are not qualified to kill my people." His indifferent and calm words did not reveal the slightest bit of joy or anger. Everyone from the martial organization and Spirit Phoenix Valley looked back at the slightly skinny and slender figure in astonishment. From beginning to end, the other party was as calm as the water in an ancient well. Chu Hen raised his eyes slightly and looked straight at Xiao Yao Cheng in the sky with a king's indifferent attitude. "Do you want to kill me so much? But unfortunately, you don't have the ability." His eyelids lifted, and a purple arc seemed to flash in his eyes. Then, a strange aura rippled in Chu Hen's eyes. Boom! Bang! In the next moment, all the black light beams above everyone's heads were smashed into pieces as if they had been hit by a heavy force. The scattered dark energy was like crumbling dust, quickly sweeping away. In an instant, the martial sect people felt relieved. At the same time, they were shocked by the powerful aura that Chu Hen displayed. Xiao Yao Cheng's face quietly became gloomy. Sensing the provocation in Chu Hen's eyes, the murderous intent in his heart unreservedly poured out. "Umph, arrogant to the extreme. Today, I will definitely not let you escape." The surging dark energy was like an exploding prairie fire. Xiao Yao Cheng clasped his palms together, and circles of swirling black cyclones immediately interweaved around Chu Hen. Hua! In an instant, a black whirlpool directly appeared under Chu Hen's feet. The powerful black whirlpool was like a violent storm that stirred up the sky. The surrounding martial sect people and the Spirit Phoenix Valley people were all blown away by this terrible shockwave. Brother Chu Hen, looking at Chu Hen, who was trapped in the black whirlpool, Yi Yao turned pale with fright. Before she could move, Qiu Xingyi pulled her back. "Don't rush, let's watch first." Bang, bang, bang. The earth cracked, and the mountains collapsed. The dark storm engulfed the entire mountain peak in an instant. The forest was destroyed, and the rivers flowed backwards. "You can't escape." Xiao Yao Cheng revealed a cold smile. Voila! Then, along with the cracked earth, more than a dozen black chains that looked like frightening dragons shot out from the ground. Each chain was 7 to 8 meters thick, and there were complex patterns swaying on it. At the top of the chain, there were sharp hooks and thorns. Xiao! The sound of rushing wind was extremely ear-piercing. More than a dozen majestic chains swung down like the stinger of a giant scorpion, attacking Chu Hen, who was in the center of the whirlpool. On the sacred battle platform, heroes gathered here, fighting for supremacy. At this moment, everyone inside and outside the sacred battle platform was staring at the intense battle in the void. Tang Bufan, the subject of the Emperor of Mo, and the undefeated god of war, Mang Yuan-tu. The battle between the two could be said to be chaotic, causing the void to tremble uneasily. Even space itself was distorted. The rhythm of the battle between the two had been maintained at a very tight pace. As of now, the geniuses of the various forces and clans present were unable to determine who had the upper hand. While everyone was shocked by Mang Yuan-tu's ability to fight one against two, they were also sincerely impressed by Tang Bufan's ability to control the puppet's movements so perfectly while fighting fiercely. Now look at that place. At this moment, the movement coming from the southeast of the sacred battle platform attracted the attention of many people. Everyone subconsciously shifted their gazes in that direction at the same time. Looking at the sky that was shrouded in darkness, everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. What a shocking power of darkness. There's only one person on the wind cloud list who possesses such a powerful aura of darkness. Xiao Yao Cheng of the Spirit Phoenix Valley. It should be him. But who is Xiao Yao Cheng fighting against? Those on the wind cloud list who can fight against him are all here. Everyone's gazes swept over the 3 war gods of the War God Palace, the 3 ministers of the Emperor Majestic Palace, Lei Zhen of the Thunder Saint Tribe, Lininghe of the 5 Elements race, and Sidu Hanya of the Wind Frost City. Xiao Yao Cheng was ranked 12th on the Wind Cloud list, and the top 15 on the list were all here. Who was worthy of him fighting outside the sacred battle platform? However, although everyone was puzzled, even though everyone was extremely curious, no one wanted to leave the place to investigate the battle. The reason was simple. Because the 2 people above the sacred battle platform were the 1st and 2nd on the wind cloud list. No one was willing to miss this battle. Bang! Boom! The continuous collisions caused waves of air to surge endlessly. 3 afterimages intersected like auroras, and sparks flew in all directions every time they collided. Bang! Mang Yuan-tu's palm force was like a dragon, and he directly knocked Tang Bufan away. Immediately after, the ghostly black-robed puppet flashed and instantly arrived behind him, and the sharp blade in its hand slashed towards his neck at lightning speed. Mang Yuan-tu leaned to the side and formed a claw with one hand, grabbing his opponent's arm. "Yeah, I'm going to take you down now, crack." Mang Yuan-tu's finger energy erupted with a powerful crushing force, accompanied by the sound of machinery snapping. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd below, the black-robed puppet's sleeve and arm were separated from its body. However, the puppet couldn't feel any pain. Having lost one of its arms, it did not have the slightest reaction. However, after being attacked, the black-robed puppet's lifeless face suddenly contorted. Crack! Following that, the puppet's mouth suddenly opened to both sides, and beams of dazzling golden light blades shot out from its mouth. Mang Yuan-tu's pupils narrowed slightly, and the golden light blades that were flying toward his face were reflected in his eyes. He dodged to the side, and while dodging the golden light blades, he leaped into the air. However, just as Mang Yuan-tu leaped away, Tang Bufan and the black-robed puppet also leaped into the air. The 2 of them were like phantoms streaking across the night sky, following Mang Yuan-tu from the left and right. Double stream slash. Tang Bufan shouted, and a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Whoosh! As he rapidly approached Mang Yuan-tu, a golden blade with mysterious patterns on it suddenly appeared in Tang Bufan's palm. An identical blade also appeared on the black-robed puppet's other arm. The puppet leaped to the left and right at Mang Yuan too. At the same time, it swung its blade. The long and narrow blade was like a praying mantis's plow blade. Divine light flashed, and the two blades attacked Mang Yuantu's head from both sides. The speed of this joint attack was extremely fast. It could be said that the timing was perfect. Even Mang Yuantu had no time to dodge. Everyone's hearts were in their throats, and a horrifying scene of blood splattering across the sky appeared in their minds. However, their opponent was Mang Yuantu, the invincible god of war, ranked first on the wind cloud list. You think you could defeat me with just this? How naive. As he spoke, Mang Yuan crossed his arms in front of him. His left hand reached toward Tang Bufan, who was on his right, and his right palm faced the black-robed puppet on his left. Buzz! In an instant, the vigorous true origin energy turned into a rotating ball of light that lingered around Mang Yuantu's body. Bang! Bang! Tang Bufan and the black-robed puppet's arm blades heavily struck the rotating ball of light around Mang Yuantu's body. They blocked it. The spectators' eyelids twitched. Wait, not necessarily. In that instant, the long and narrow arm blades that attacked from the left and right actually penetrated the ball of light around Mang Yuantu's body and slowly approached his throat. Tang Bufan's eyes darkened, and blue veins appeared on his arms. A faint cracking sound came from the black-robed puppet's body. Mang Yuantu, who was in the middle, laughed. Is that all you've got? What? The spectator's heartstrings tightened. As soon as he finished speaking, Mang Yuantu's eyes turned cold, and an even more monstrous aura surged. The ball of light in the center rotated and exploded with a light of stars. Mysterious wave. Screech! A huge shock wave exploded from within, and the air was filled with an extremely ear-piercing sound wave. The mighty airwaves were like a violent storm sweeping out in the void. The mountains and rivers below shook, and the sacred arena shook. The space became extremely distorted. The arm blades in Tang Bufan's and the black-robed puppet's hands were broken, and they were sent flying. So powerful! As expected of Mang Yuantu, the spectators frowned, and their faces were filled with amazement. However, before the spectators could recover from their shock, the space behind Tang Bufan suddenly became blurry and distorted. Accompanied by a cold aura, an arrogant figure quietly appeared behind him. It's my turn. What? Tang Bufan's expression changed drastically. The hearts of everyone present trembled. Bang! There was no chance to dodge at all. Next, a shocking scene appeared in the void. They saw a cold and merciless arm directly penetrate Tang Bufan's body from behind. Chapter 14:16. Walala. An incomparable dark aura overflowed the heavens. A dozen or so sturdy iron chains that were like poisonous scorpions' stingers all swooped down. Carrying a frightening penetrating force, they attacked Chu Hen, who was in the black whirlpool below. The faces of the martial sect members turned slightly pale. Xiao Yaocheng's method was full of murderous intent. He had no intention of giving Chu Hen any chance of survival. Buzz! However, a scene similar to the one just now appeared. The giant iron chains directly stopped above Chu Hen's figure. Chi-Chi, gorgeous and evil purple electric arcs intertwined and bloomed in Chu Hen's body, like a lightning shield light net, blocking the black iron chains that were pressing down. Although the dark vortex was extremely destructive and the barbed iron chains were very lethal. However, the seemingly small Chu Hen's defense was impregnable. Within the storm of darkness, he was like a sturdy stone pillar, unwavering and unwavering. Xiao Yaocheng's eyes flashed with a thick and fierce light. His figure suddenly moved, and a monstrous momentum erupted. Buzz! Xiao Yaocheng leaned over and swept toward Chu Hen. Suddenly, four rapidly rotating dark spheres appeared around him. The dark spheres were not large in size, with a diameter of only 2 to 3 meters. However, the energy surging inside them was like the unusually chaotic volcanic magma. I'd like to see how many moves you can take from me. Xiao Chang brought along 4 balls of dark energy and instantly rushed in front of Chu Hen. Every ball of darkness was emitting an extremely manic and frightening movement. After saying that, Xiao Chang raised a terrifying and violent palm momentum. The 4 dark spheres that lingered around him all flew out and all rushed toward Chu Hen's position. In the process of moving, the 4 dark energy spheres were like expanding dark stars, rapidly enlarging, and the surrounding space also showed a state of distortion. The black vortex storm that enveloped Chu Hen became more and more intense. However, at this moment, Chu Hen raised his cold eyes, and the purple electric arcs that covered his body instantly soared countless times. Crack! A series of electric arcs exploded like a shower of sparks. Chu Hen's throat moved slightly as he coldly shouted, "Thousand thunder escape! Azure dragon break! Rumble!" The earth quaked and the mountains shook. With Chu Hen as the center, the ground beneath his feet cracked open in succession, and one after another, extremely swift and fierce purple lightning pillars pierced through the ground and shot into the sky. Roar! It was accompanied by a deafening dragon roar. Tens of thousands of thunder and lightning pillars gathered behind Chu Hen, instantly transforming into a domineering and ferocious thunder and lightning dragon. The aura of the thunder dragon that was completely condensed from purple lightning was monstrous, and the most astonishing thing was that its body, which was dominated by purple lightning, was also surrounded by dense dark green lightning energy. The enormous lightning dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it roared with a grim voice, and it was like a primeval, ferocious beast as it pounced towards the 4 balls of dark energy that assaulted it. Boom! The heaven and earth changed color, and the wind and clouds rose. Accompanied by an earth-shattering, destructive shockwave, countless thunderbolts tore the earth in all directions, along with the collapsed Rocky Mountain forest, and a huge mountain range directly collapsed inch by inch. A dense and surging dark light screen swept out. It was like a prairie fire that came from hell. The peerlessly sharp thunder and lightning pillars were like sharp blades that pierced through the dark clouds, tearing apart the darkness and penetrating the storm. The rapid and sharp sound of thunder caused a burst of pain in one's eardrums. Looking at this scene, the expressions of the Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples couldn't help but sink. More than a month ago, Chu Hen didn't have much strength to fight back in front of Xiao Chang. If it wasn't for Xia Qing, Chu Hen would probably have lost his life in the hands of Xiao Chang. How long had it been? And his cultivation had already advanced to such a terrifying level, especially now that Xiao Chang had fused with the power of the Battle Phoenix soul. Clang! The 3,000 thunder strike shattered the darkness. The sky was filled with rubble that swirled like rain, and the wantonly splashing dark cyclones swayed like rain. More than half of the originally lofty and huge mountain range collapsed. A huge crater shockingly appeared beneath Chu Hen's body. However, there was not the slightest bit of injury on Chu Hen's body. He was completely unharmed. The eyes of the martial sect members were glowing. Xia Qing and Yi Yao's expressions were also obviously relaxed. Chu Hen stared coldly at Xiao Chang's increasingly gloomy face and shook his head slightly. "Unfortunately, I'm in a hurry." Xiao Chang's face was filled with a sinister sneer, and a strong killing intent surged in his vicious eyes. "Do you think you can live? Too naive." Xiao Chang's facial features became a little distorted because of hatred and anger. As soon as he finished speaking, the cold storm attacked, and the sky suddenly fell into darkness. "This aura is..." Xia Qing's expression changed, and her jade-like hands involuntarily clenched into fists. Chu Hen, without waiting for her to open her mouth to remind him. Screech, a high-pitched phoenix's cry resounded through the sky and spread from Xiao Cheng's body. This long cry entered one's mind and directly invaded one's soul. It made one's heart palpitate with fear. In the gloomy and dark void, a ball of black flame rose into the sky. Xiao Chang spread his arms high, and his entire body surged with a violent and uneasy dark energy that soared to the sky. There seemed to be black light spurting out from his eyes. It was as if a fiend god had descended to the world. In an instant, the endless black light spread out, and a divine phoenix shadow that emitted a black aura soared into the sky. Soul of the battle phoenix. All the disciples of the Spirit Phoenix Valley were full of respect. The faces of the people from the martial sect all changed. This is the legendary soul of the battle phoenix. What a terrifying aura. Everyone who witnessed this felt their hearts tremble. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, but he still stared calmly at the divine phoenix of darkness. Compared to the divine phoenix power that Xia Qing had displayed, the soul of the battle phoenix before him was obviously different. Its power aura was mainly dark. Disappear forever. Xiao Yao Cheng shouted sternly, and his red eyes were filled with killing intent. Screech! The dark fire burned the sky, and the divine phoenix of darkness danced in the void, emitting a disdainful aura. Then, it exploded with a destructive aura that covered the sky, and pounced towards Chu Hen below. Its huge wings spread out, and the rolling black flame was like a tide. Everyone present felt an extremely terrifying pressure. No! Looking at the indifferent Chu Hen, Xia Qing hurriedly exclaimed. She knew how strong the soul of the battle phoenix was, especially when the person who controlled this power was Xiao Yao Cheng. The whirlpool churned, and a heaven-shocking crushing power completely enveloped Chu Hen's body. The ground under his feet suddenly split open into countless deep cracks and cracks. Chu Hen, who was facing the divine phoenix of darkness, was completely like an ant in front of an ancient giant. Do you really want to kill me that badly? At this moment, Chu Hen's entire body was surrounded by a dense purple glow. His eyes that were looking at the divine phoenix of darkness quietly turned into a demonic purple. But so do I. Buzz. 7 black dots appeared in the depths of his deep and dark pupils. The 7 black dots rotated in a clockwise direction, and the air let out a sharp tremor. Rumble. A strange spatial rhythm exploded from Chu Hen's body, and everyone present felt their souls tremble. In the next moment, the ground behind Chu Hen split open rapidly, and countless purple light pillars shot up into the sky like an exploding star ring. 7-star demon eyes, hand of Nirvana. Bang! Along with the shattered rocks on the ground, and under the intertwining of thousands of light beams, a terrifying demon-like giant hand suddenly reached out from the ground behind Chu Hen to the sky. This giant hand was abnormally huge, and it was covered with a thick layer of armor. Its 5 fingers were slender and sharp, like the hand of a demon. What is this? Everyone from the Spirit Phoenix Valley widened their eyes in shock. The martial sect side also had a face of shock. The giant hand supported the sky, and every inch of it seemed to hide a world-shaking divine might that could destroy mountains and rivers. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the huge demonic hand covered in purple bracer armor welcomed the divine phoenix of darkness, which was diving down from the sky. Bang! Boom! The mountains and rivers in all directions were about to split, and the rivers in all directions were tumbling. The moment the two met, the originally incomparably dark void directly set off a majestic storm, and the chaotic aftermath was like an exploding nebula. Round after round, the surrounding mountains were swept and flattened. Everyone's heartstrings were stretched taut. In the next moment, everyone from the Spirit Phoenix Valley turned deathly pale. They only saw that extremely terrifying giant demon hand forcibly break through the huge body of the divine phoenix of darkness. What? How is this possible? Everyone from the Spirit Phoenix Valley was shocked. Xiao Yao Cheng was even more incredulous. Impossible. He, who possessed the soul of a battle phoenix, actually lost. This. Chapter 14:17. 1 second to remember. There was no pop-up window for free reading. Boom! The gigantic demonic hand pierced through the earth, breaking through the blue dome of heaven and uprooting the Milky Way. Under the shocked gazes of the Spirit Phoenix Valley and martial sect disciples, the gigantic annihilation hand directly pierced through the huge body of the dark divine phoenix. The gigantic shadow of the dark divine phoenix exploded into pieces in an instant, shattering into fragments of light that filled the sky. Bang! Immediately after, a tremendous force swept through the sky and smashed into Xiao Cheng, who was behind him. A heavy muffled sound mixed with chaotic waves of air swept out. A ring of purple light mixed with dark aura spread out with Xiao Cheng at the center. Xiao Cheng's body shook violently, and his face immediately turned red. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood with a puff. Sound. Senior brother Xiao. The faces of everyone from the Spirit Phoenix Valley changed greatly. Xiao Cheng swayed in the air, his face full of disbelief. Impossible! Impossible! His body trembled as he glared at Chu Hen below with incomparably ferocious eyes. Xiao Cheng, will never lose. However, just as he finished speaking, there was another bang. Explosion. Dozens of bewitching and demonic purple light beams actually exploded from Xiao Cheng's body. A stream of blood danced in the sky. Xiao Cheng's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The major veins in his body exploded one after another, and warm blood gushed out like a spring. Xiao Cheng roared fiercely. He was mournful like an evil spirit, and his vicious eyes were full of resentment. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. After saying that, the violet palace of his true essence once again surged with a powerful dark energy. At the same time, the black light behind him rose like a tide. However, in the next second, Xiao Cheng's body trembled. The power he gathered actually collapsed, and the true essence in his body uncontrollably leaked out. Screech, a loud phoenix cry once again rang in everyone's ears. A divine phoenix's shadow glowed with multicolored light, directly broke through Xiao Cheng's true essence violet palace and broke out from within. In an instant, Xiao Cheng let out a blood-curdling scream and fell from the sky. His body was covered in blood as he fell on the rocky ground. Senior brother Xiao. Quick, hurry up. The Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples rushed forward to check on Xiao Cheng's condition. Suli supported Xiao Cheng, whose aura was extremely weak. His tightly furrowed brows were filled with indescribable complexity. What do you think, Senior Suli? Everyone anxiously stared at Su Li's gloomy face. Huangfu Hao stood behind Xiaqing and hesitated whether he should go over or not. Suli closed his eyes and let out a long sigh. He shook his head and said, Senior brother Xiao was devoured by the soul of the battle phoenix. What? And then, why is this happening? Suli sighed regretfully. Senior brother Xiao forcefully suppressed the battle phoenix's soul in his true essence violet palace to control the divine phoenix's power. Now that the phoenix soul has broken out of his body, the backlash has injured his major meridians and severely damaged his true origin violet palace. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to return to his peak in the future. Helpless. Deep helplessness. It could be seen that Suli also had mixed feelings about Xiao Cheng's experience. Once he heard the words, difficult to return to his peak, Xiao Cheng, who had not completely lost his consciousness, became even more furious. His face was filled with unwillingness. Similarly, the Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples were both shocked and furious. Everyone stood up and glared at Chu Hen as they scolded him. Surnamed Chu, how dare you? Do you know who he is? You dare to harm our senior brother Xiao. We will not forgive you. Avenge senior brother Xiao. The eyes of the Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples were about to spit fire. After all, Xiao Cheng had always been their pillar of support. However, in the face of the Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples' anger, Chu Hen did not even bat an eyelid. He glanced sideways at Xiaqing. The moment their eyes met, Xiaqing wanted to say something but stopped. She paused and finally nodded without saying anything. Chu Hen nodded slightly and turned to Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, and the rest. Let's go. The martial sect disciples were stunned. They immediately stepped forward and followed behind Chu Hen. You want to leave? How can it be so easy? The Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples angrily tried to stop him. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows and said indifferently, since we have already spared his life, why bother? You have injured senior brother Xiao Yao to this extent, and you still want to leave? What can you do to me? His calm voice carried a hint of contempt as an invisible, majestic aura swept out. The Spirit Phoenix Valley disciples felt an inexplicable sense of awe. That's right. Even Xiao Yao Cheng was defeated so miserably. What could the others do to him? Ignoring the enraged crowd from the Spirit Phoenix Valley, Chu Hen did not even bother to look at the extremely unwilling Xiao Yao Cheng. Like a leader, he led the martial sect disciples towards the sacred battle stage, although their hearts were burning with anger. However, not a single person dared to stop Chu Hen. Sister Wei? In this situation, Huang Fu Hao felt a little awkward. After all, the main cause of this matter was the two of them. However, Xia Qing was very clear in her heart. The reason why Chu Hen spared Xiao Yao Cheng's life was entirely because of her. Xiao Yao Cheng had repeatedly tried to kill him, so Chu Hen definitely had a reason to kill him. Because Xiao Yao Cheng had done Xia Qing a favor, he would let him go. Xia Qing sighed helplessly as she looked at the sky with her delicate and beautiful eyes. Li, the soul of the battle phoenix that was soaring in the void, seemed to have been summoned. It spread its wings, dragging the blazing flames of the sky as it swooped down towards Xia Qing. Immediately, Xia Qing raised her jade-like hand, and a five-colored halo lingered on her slender fingers. The moment the battle phoenix spirit touched the five-colored halo, it suddenly became abnormal. The huge body quickly turned into a wisp of shadow and entered Xia Qing's body through her fingertips. There was no rejection at all. The people of Spirit Phoenix Valley were shocked and resentful at the same time. However, Xia Qing did not return to the Spirit Phoenix Valley team. She calmly said to Huang Fu Hao behind her, "Let's go." Huh? Huang Fu Hao was stunned at first. He looked at the people of Spirit Phoenix Valley before following Xia Qing. Looking at the Xia Qing siblings heading to the sacred battle platform alone, the people of Spirit Phoenix Valley became even more furious. These two traitors. Someone cursed fiercely. What do we do next? We also go to the sacred battle platform. The people from the War God Palace are there. That's right, if we meet the people from the War God Palace, that bastard with the surname Chu will definitely die. Even if we cannot avenge Senior Xiao Yao, we will personally see him suffer. The sacred battle platform, the weather changed. The battle between the dragon and python pierced through the 9 heavens. Bang! The heavy muffled sound caused everyone's eardrums to tremble faintly. Everyone's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as they stared at the scene in the sky in shock. It ended a little too early. Dueling War God He Lianqi said playfully. Starry War God Qi Qianling and Priestess War God Ji Liang also smiled. The 3 ministers of the great Emperor Palace clenched their fists, their expressions solemn. Frost and dust filled the sky, mixed with chaotic cyclones. The scene seemed to freeze. Mang Yuantu's cold and merciless arm directly pierced through Tang Bufan's chest from behind. Everyone present felt a chill run down their spines. Just a second ago, Tang Bufan and the puppet still had a slight advantage. In the blink of an eye, there was such a huge disparity. Everyone did not dare to breathe loudly. The battle ended just like that. Oomph. A cold smile appeared on Mang Yuantu's face. He looked at Tang Bufan, who had his back facing him, and said frivolously, "Are there any other surprises?" The answer was no. That was the judgment of everyone present. Mang Yuantu was too ruthless. His target was Tang Bufan's body. Of course. However, in the next second, a light and playful voice entered everyone's ears. Everyone's heartstrings trembled. Ji Liang, He Lianqi, Qi Qianling, Situ Hanya, Ji Tao, Lai Shengyuan, and the other monstrous geniuses on the list were shocked. Everyone's gaze shifted from Tang Bufan, who had his chest pierced through, to the black-cloaked puppet on the other side. Of course there's a surprise. The familiar voice came from the black-cloaked puppet. Under the loose black cloak, a handsome and fair face was slowly revealed to the air. Tang Bufan. Everyone was shocked. Who was the one beside Mang Yuantu? Everyone's gaze shifted again. The figure that had been pierced by Mang Yuantu's arm had a lifeless face. Moreover, it was missing an arm. If it wasn't a puppet, then what was it? How could it be? It was clearly Tang Buffon's body that had been hit. Under the black cloak, Tang Buffon revealed a charming smile. I can switch positions with my puppet at any time. Swoosh. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. Countless geniuses on the list of Wind Cloud clenched their fists, and their expressions changed. Terrifying. I'm the puppet. The puppet is me, and also... Tang Buffon's voice paused slightly before he formed a seal with a single hand. In the next instant, countless complicated and strange ancient markings actually appeared on the surface of the puppet that had been pierced by the Mang origin painting. The mysterious runes were like a powerful restriction. An extremely shocking energy fluctuation rapidly surged from the puppet's body. Tang Buffon raised his eyes and said loudly, "This time, you can't escape." As soon as he said that, the puppet in front of Mang Yuantu emitted a dazzling light, and all the ancient runes on its body released a divine splendor. Mang Yuantu's pupils rapidly shrank to the size of a needle. Bang! With a deafening explosion, a terrifying shockwave directly exploded in the void. An incomparably violent, destructive force soared through the sky like a rapidly expanding golden nebula. Countless fine cracks appeared in the space, which had been distorted to the extreme. The mighty shockwave swept in all directions in the void. The sky lost its color, and the earth collapsed. The sacred battle platform seemed to have been swept by a hurricane. Countless people lost their balance and were sent flying. Everyone's face was reflected in the golden color of the chaotic energy. Everyone's eyes trembled uneasily. What terrifying, destructive power! No, what's terrifying is Tang Buffon's method. Shock, surprise, as well as a deep sense of respect. Tang Buffon's method was simply too terrifying. It was impossible to guard against. Buzz. Rumble. The chaotic storm cyclones erupted in the ninth heaven, causing the entire place to explode. In the aftermath of the wanton release of power, a figure with a cold gaze gradually appeared in the powerful airwaves. It was Mang Yuantu. Everyone's heart tightened. Everyone's gaze was fixated on the other party. From afar, Mang Yuantu's entire arm was shattered by the impact. Even half of his shoulder was gone. Chapter 14:18. A piercingly cold whirlwind swept through the entire arena, slashing at the faces of the spectators like knives. The terrifying impact caused the sky to crack. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Mang Yuantu's silhouette gradually appeared amidst the chaotic waves of frost and dust. Everyone's expression changed drastically when they saw the other party's state. His entire arm had disappeared, and even half of his shoulder had been crushed by the impact of the violent force. Everyone who witnessed this scene couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Oh my God, Mang Yuantu? Terrifying. Looking at this scene, countless people felt a deep chill rise in their hearts. The force produced by the puppet's self-destruction was so terrifying. If it was anyone else, they would have lost more than just an arm. Only Tang Buffon can replace Mang Yuantu's arm with a puppet. Liningha of the Five Elements clan murmured with a deep expression. Can this be considered a prophet? On another sacred battle platform, Leijin from the Thunder Saint race had a cold smile on his face. Although one of his arms had been destroyed, there wasn't the slightest hint of pain on Mang Yuantu's face. His indifferent face and eyes gave off the feeling that he was a puppet. What a ruthless person. He didn't even say anything. Wei Yin shook his head. Just when everyone thought that Tang Buffon had gained the upper hand, the next scene shocked everyone once again. A thick, dark gray light appeared on Mang Yuantu's body. Accompanied by a strong spatial fluctuation, the debris floating in the air rapidly gathered towards Mang Yuantu's severed arm. What? Everyone's eyes widened in shock. It was like a broken mirror, or like a piece of paper that was mending itself. The fragments that filled the sky quickly fused back together, and Mang Yuantu's shattered arm grew back at a speed visible to the naked eye. Heavens! He has already reached the realm of regrowing limbs? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Even a peak Ninth Order Saint King realm cultivator can't have such terrifying healing ability. Looking at the dumbfounded crowd, a disdainful voice came from the crowd. A bunch of idiots. This is the power of the bloodline boundary. What? The limit of the supreme grade saint body bloodline. Moreover, it's a top-notch saint body. That is, the eyes of Lai Xingyuan, Lin Yinghe, Lei Zhen, and the other monstrous geniuses narrowed as they muttered to themselves. Barbarian saint body. The scene was immediately cut into countless pieces, and everyone's faces were filled with unprecedented shock. Barbarian holy body. It was an ancient bloodline boundary that had existed for many years. The strength of the fleshly body of a person who possessed such a physique was comparable to that of a saint-rank demon beast. Their strength was so overbearing that they could go against a divine weapon with their bare hands. The most monstrous thing was that the holy body of the barbarian wilderness had an extremely strong regenerative ability. It could be said to have an indestructible body. Who? The cold wind whistled and frost filled the sky. In just a few blinks of an eye, Mang Yuantu's broken arm was reconnected, and even his torn sleeve was restored to its original state. From afar, it looked exactly the same as before. So unscathed, it was as if nothing had happened. Oh my God! Is this guy a monster? Shock. Countless people's faces were filled with shock. All the geniuses on the leaderboard could not help but clench their fists. They seemed to understand why Mang Yuantu was called the invincible god of war. With such a monstrous bloodline boundary, who could do anything to him? Mang Yuantu's eyes were filled with indifference. He looked at Tang Bufan, who was in front of him like a god. My arm has grown back, but you don't have a puppet anymore. How helpless. Tang Bufan smiled and shook his head. The barbarian holy body is indeed a headache. But as soon as he said that, a sharp, cold light burst out of Tang Bufan's eyes. I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. Whoosh, a cold and powerful airwave stacked up, and a circle of scattered ripples spread in the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After a few hurried groans, in an instant, four lifeless and cold figures suddenly appeared behind Tang Bufan. Boom! Before the first wave subsided, another wave arose. The invisible deterrent aura instantly struck the hearts of everyone present like a sharp knife. Shock filled everyone's faces again. There are more puppets? And there are 4 of them. Whoosh! In an instant, everyone inside and outside the sacred battle platform was shocked and gasped. For puppets, each of them exuded a terrifying, murderous aura. They were like cold and merciless hunters, including Tang Bufan himself. This time, it was 5 against 1. The balance of victory seemed to have shifted again. Everyone looked at Tang Bufan in disbelief. A single puppet was already terrifying enough. Now that he had summoned 4 of them, who could withstand it? Another monster, Izhou of Hanyun's sect, shook his head and smiled bitterly. What about the people behind us? They have no interest in fighting anymore. The wind and clouds surged. Every movement of the 2 people in the sky tugged at the heartstrings of the people below. At this moment, Mang Yuantu and Tang Bufan were like 2 mountains above everyone's heads. It seems like I have to apologize. Tang Bufan's lips curled into a charming smile. Mang Yuantu's eyelids twitched. You're that confident? Of course. Even the holy body of the untamed wilderness can't withstand my 5-stream slash. As for you, Tang Bufan raised his hand and pointed at Mang Yuantu. I made a lot of preparations. Show me your full strength. The invincible god of war. The invincible god of war. There was a hint of caution in his impassioned voice. This was an invitation to battle. It was a provocation. Boom! A surging aura swept across the Milky Way. Tang Bufan fully displayed his domineering aura. Mang Yuantu's eyes were filled with arrogance as he faced Emperor Mo's murderous intent. You've finally made me, Mang Yuantu, take you seriously. As soon as he finished speaking, Mang Yuantu put his palms together, and a monstrous and terrifying power surged out of his body. His eyes shone with a myriad of brilliant dark blue splendor. As you wish, Tang Bufan. When the three words Tang Bufon were uttered, the world suddenly shook, and the nine heavens lost their color. Even the mountains and rivers were shaking. Boom! Two loud sounds of mountains collapsing could be heard. The two sacred battle platforms on the north and south sides of the platform exploded from the middle. Countless rays of dark blue light shot into the Milky Way like divine rays. Way! It was as if an ancient god was singing in a low voice between heaven and earth. In an instant, two giant phantoms of stone statues appeared in the sky. The phantoms shone with a myriad of mysterious ancient runes. What's this? Everyone's hearts seemed to stop beating as they looked at the two phantoms. An unparalleled aura enveloped the entire place, suppressing everyone so much that they couldn't breathe. Tang Bufon's expression changed slightly as he stood between the two phantoms. He felt a strong sense of pressure. He stared at Mang Yuantu with a cold look on his face. 5-stream / whoosh whoosh whoosh. The four puppets behind him flew towards Mang Yuantu's location. However, at the same time, the two giant stone statue phantoms stretched out their giant palms and attacked Tang Bufon from both sides. The shocking divine aura caused the space to crack. The phantoms emitted the aura of an ancient god. The extremely strong power gathered in their palms and arms. A spiraling storm that was rapidly compressed revolved around Tang Bufon. Mang Yuantu's throat moved slightly. The aura of a king covered the sky and earth. Pomp of creation. The majestic aura seemed to spread in all directions. Suddenly, there was no one who wasn't shocked, no one who wasn't horrified. A domineering figure that could shake the ancients and dazzle the contemporaries appeared in everyone's mind. The palm of creation, chaotic Milky Way. The supreme technique created by the great emperor of creation. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the giant palms of the two phantoms smashed toward Tang Bufon and his four puppets with the power to destroy the stars and split the sun. The violent storm of energy squeezed the space out of shape. Bang, bang, bang. A series of muffled explosions rang out. The puppets that had yet to reach Mang Yuantu were smashed into pieces one by one. The terrifying palm energy was unstoppable. It was extremely terrifying. Tang Bufon's eyes widened. For the first time, a panicked expression appeared on his face. Boom! In the next moment, under everyone's constricted eyes, the two giant palms from the left and right merged together like a seal, attacking Tang Bufon. Chapter 1419. Creation Palm, Chaotic Milky Way. The towering stone phantoms were like two ancient giant war gods that guarded the heavens and earth. The gigantic palm covered the sky with an aura that could destroy the stars and split the earth, shaking the mountains and rivers. Boom! The terrifying palm aura came from the left and right, like the seal of an ancient giant god, directly striking Tang Bufon in the middle of the two palms. A majestic wave of air instantly spread in all directions in the void. Everyone's eyes narrowed to the size of a needle. The geniuses of the various sects and forces, as well as the sacred race experts, were all astonished. It's actually the supreme technique created by the Creation Emperor, the Creation Divine Palm. Rumor has it that the Creation Divine Palm dominated an area in the past with the Creation Divine Palm. Everyone in the world feared his divine might. I never thought that I would be able to witness this world-shocking technique with my own eyes. I have no regrets in this sacred war. Feeling the overwhelming aura that shook the heavens, everyone looked at Mang Yuantu with deep fear and respect. In the next moment, a monstrous aura that was like an erupting mountain torrent swept out from the enormous palm. The condensed shockwaves were like a nebula whirlpool. The destructive might of the palm strike swept out in all directions, causing mountains and rivers to crack apart. Even the sacred battle platform below was shaken to the point where countless long cracks appeared. How was the situation? Everyone's hearts were in their throats. On the central sacred battle platform, the three ministers of the Grand Emperor Hall also frowned deeply, their faces filled with a never-before-seen heaviness. As for the War God Palace, The three of them were exceptionally relaxed. Hee hee, looks like it's over, the war god Ji Liang said with a faint smile. "Humph." The war god, He Lianqi, snorted coldly. It took longer than expected. No matter what, the opponent is ranked second on the wind cloud list. We still have to give him some respect. Boom! Suddenly, a chaotic shock wave once again swept out from the center of the stone phantoms. Endless, dazzling light shone like the radiance of the sun. The dazzling light shone through the giant hand of the stone phantoms. Following that, the two stone phantoms that resembled ancient giant spirits slowly dissipated and concealed themselves. There's still a chance. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Many pairs of nervous eyes stared at the void above. Tang Buffon's figure gradually appeared in the whirlwind that was wreaking havoc. Are you all right? It's not over. The eyes of many people who had high hopes for Tang Buffon couldn't help but light up. The other three Emperor's ministers also heaved a sigh of relief. From the outside, Tang Buffon did not seem to be injured. However, his four puppets were all destroyed, which was still worrying. Who? The cold wind whistled, and the clouds moved with it. Tang Buffon's eyes were as cold as ice as he stared at Mang Yuantu in the sky. The divine palm of creation is indeed powerful. Sensing the restless energy undulations in Tang Buffon's body, the battle intent in Mang Yuantu's eyes gradually receded and was replaced with arrogance and indifference. You lost. Lost. Everyone present was startled. Tang Buffon clenched his fists, and powerful true inner force flowed outside his body. The battle isn't over yet. It's already over. If you want to lose your life. Mang Yuantu's arrogant tone was like that of a king looking down on Tang Buffon. He stared at Tang Buffon's handsome face, which was filled with unwillingness, and said, I know you still have a trump card. Tang Buffon still had a trump card? Many people were elated. However, Mang Yuantu's domineering aura extinguished everyone's expectations. However, your trump card still won't be able to defeat me. You might have less than a 10% chance of defeating me, but there's still a 90% chance that you'll die by my hands. Die by my hands. These few simple words immediately sent a chill down everyone's spine. Tang Buffon didn't refute Mang Yuantu's words. His clenched fists trembled slightly, and a sinister look appeared on his handsome face. However, I don't want to kill you. Mang Yuantu's tone was especially calm, and there was a mocking look on his face. You're the only one who can threaten me. It'd be a pity to kill you. With you around, the battle on the wind cloud list will be a little more interesting. Of course, if you insist on attacking, I can retract my kindness. Kindness. This was Mang Yuantu's kindness. However, everyone present could feel the most contemptuous disdain from the bottom of their hearts. Mang Yuantu's kindness was to kill. He was telling everyone that as long as he was alive, the wind cloud list would forever be ruled by him. Because the monster ranked second on the list had only survived because of his kindness. At this moment, Tang Buffon's aura was completely suppressed. In front of the invincible war god, Emperor Mo's subordinates were like subjects standing before the emperor. Tang Buffon's body trembled slightly as he stared at Mang Yuantu. Fear gradually replaced his heart. At this moment, he didn't even have the courage to attack. Ah! Tang Buffon roared as if he had a mental breakdown. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, like a bird with broken wings, he fell from the sky powerlessly. Damn it! The expressions of the three great emperor subjects changed drastically. Eight-armed Emperor Wei Yin soared into the sky and immediately caught Tang Buffon. Senior Brother Tang, pull yourself together. The appearance of this scene announced the end of the battle on the wind cloud list. However, this result exceeded everyone's expectations. Killing someone was just a matter of nodding one's head to the ground. Tang Buffon was defeated. Mang Yuantu continued to write his undefeated name. He defeated War God Mo and continued to rule the wind cloud list. Ha 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 ha! Mang Yuantu laughed unbridledly, displaying the domineering aura of a king. He looked down on all the major forces on the sacred battle platform. Who else dares to fight me? Waves of air covered the sky. The wind and clouds rustled. No one in the audience agreed to it. Everyone's gaze swept across Lai Shungyuan, Wei Yin, Qin Yong, Lei Zhun, Lininghe, and Sido Hanya. However, no one dared answer. At this moment, all the monstrous geniuses on the wind cloud list became the background of the other party. Monster! Izhou of the Hanyan sect shook his head lightly. What a pity for Tang Bufan. He will probably live in a shadow for a long time. Ji Tao, who was not far away, said coldly, "Since the battle here has ended, it's time for us to decide the winner." Wait a moment. It's very easy to lose your life if you stand out now. Terrifying. The battle over there seems to have ended. Only then did everyone realize that there was another intense battle at the edge of the sacred battle platform. However, because the main characters here were the two strongest people on the wind cloud list, the battle over there had already been forgotten. Who won? Is there a need to ask? There's no need to think. It's definitely Xiao Yao Cheng. That's only natural. Those who can fight against Carefree Cheng are all here. Look, they're here. The shocking atmosphere gradually caused a commotion. The crowd in the southeast slowly parted to form a path. An imposing team stepped onto the sacred battle platform at the edge of the sacred battle platform from afar. However, very quickly, everyone was stunned. The team from the Spirit Phoenix Valley, led by Xiao Yao Cheng, did not appear. It's not Xiao Yao Cheng? What's going on? Where are the people from the Spirit Phoenix Valley? With much curiosity, more and more people turned their attention to him. Looking from afar, one could see that the leader was a young figure that most people were unfamiliar with. Martial Ancestor, then the Five Elements Clan, Thunder Saint Clan, Wind Frost City, Han Yun Sect, Xinyang Palace, Huanyu Palace, and many other forces and sects all stirred up a commotion. It's him. The atmosphere became unusually tense in an instant. Chapter 1420. Martial Ancestor. The atmosphere on the sacred battle platform instantly turned from silent to restless. Everyone's gazes were on the young team that was slowly stepping onto the sacred battle platform. It's actually the Martial Ancestor. Everyone was astonished. Everyone's eyes were filled with indescribable complexity. If it was in the past, the world wouldn't have cared at all about this sect that was one of the lower echelons of the upper echelons. They wouldn't even look at it, and their arrival wouldn't cause any waves. However, ever since the incident at the Lake of Despair, the Martial Ancestor became famous after a single battle. As a first-rate sect, the Lingyun sect was almost completely annihilated by the Martial Ancestor. In that battle, the Lake of Despair turned into a river of blood, and corpses were strewn everywhere. The three geniuses of the Lingyun sect, Li Xiong, Qi Si, and Yuan Yi, died one after another. Not a single person from the entire Lingyun sect survived. This was definitely an unprecedented event in the history of the sacred battle. What was most worth mentioning was that during the last sacred battle, the Lingyun sect had once crushed the Martial Ancestor. At that time, all the geniuses of the Martial Ancestor with Saint Physiques had their cultivations crippled. It was also at that time that the Lingyun sect had displayed their extremely vicious methods to the world. At that time, the Lingyun sect's actions had shocked countless other sects and forces and almost caused the Martial Ancestor to fall. But who would have thought? The river flows 30 years east, 30 years west. The debt of blood that the Lingyun sect owed was paid back by the Martial Ancestor with interest of 100 times. They were all slaughtered. Stepping over the corpses of the Lingyun sect, the Martial Ancestor appeared on the sacred battle platform in a shocking manner. The Martial Ancestor stepped onto the sacred battle platform step by step. The people of the various sects and forces subconsciously turned their gazes to the person at the front. It was a slightly thin and slender young man. His angular profile gave off an air of toughness like that of a statue. He was like a leader, steady and domineering. It's him. The instant they saw that young man, the various powers and clans inside and outside the sacred battle platform were all stirred up. Senior brother Lei Zhun, it's him. He killed Lei Yuan. On the Thunder Saint clan side, a disciple's voice was filled with anger. His voice wasn't loud, but it was exceptionally clear. Lei Zhun's eyes were filled with coldness. His body turned slightly, and the corner of his eyes was like a sharp sword. Meanwhile, Lei Jixin and Lei Xiaolan, who were in the Thunder Clan's team, were trembling slightly. Lei Jixin, in particular, was clenching her knuckles so tightly that they turned white. It was like being shrouded in shadows. It was an involuntary fear after seeing the nightmare. Even if the person standing in front of her was Lei Jun, who was ranked 6th on the excellence list, Lei Jixin still couldn't hide the panic in her heart. After all, she had personally witnessed the people she relied on being killed by Chu Hen one by one. As long as Chu Hen was alive, he would be her nightmare. He's the one who killed Lei Yuan. Some people were surprised. That's right, I saw it with my own eyes that day in the non-phase sky tomb. However, almost at the same time, a voice filled with hatred came from the Wind Frost City. Big brother, it's him. He's the one who killed second brother. What? Everyone in the room was startled. The person who said this was none other than Wind Frost City's third young mistress, Situya. Needless to say, the second brother she was talking about must be the second young master of Wind Frost City, one of the few saint-level tattooists on the excellence list, Sidu Xiao. After hearing it, Sidu Hanya's expression didn't seem to change much. He only looked at the people from a martial sect walking towards him from afar and didn't even emit a hint of killing intent. If I'm not mistaken, you were defeated by this person last time, right? Lin Ninghe asked Yang Zhongxiao, who was not far behind him, with great interest. Yang Zhongxiao's expression darkened, and he argued, I was just careless last time. I will definitely get my revenge. Lin Ninghe smiled and shook his head. Forget it. If you were to stand in front of him this time, I'm afraid you wouldn't even be able to take one move. What did you say? Yang Zhongxiao clenched his fists, his face full of disbelief. Lin Ninghe didn't explain further, and a hint of seriousness appeared between his brows. Even I can't see through this person's strength. It seems like the destruction of the Lingyun sect wasn't a coincidence. He actually didn't die. Over at the Hanyun sect side, Ji Tao's face was full of disbelief. Izhou, who was beside him, laughed. His laughter was especially relaxed. How is it? I told you that he wouldn't die so easily. Great, we don't have to compete anymore. Your 13th position on the excellence list can be given to me. How is that possible? Ji Tao was even more astonished. That day, he had personally witnessed Chu Hen fall into the Dian River of pure adversity. Furthermore, he was heavily injured. In that state, he would definitely have a slim chance of survival. The people from the martial sect walked steadily and calmly. Following the Sacred War platform in the outer region, they gradually walked towards the Lingyun battle platform in the central region. When they passed by the Hanyun sect, Xianyang Palace, Qixiao Pavilion, Huanyu Palace, and many other sects, they had no intention of stopping. And now, the gazes of the crowd became more and more astonished. Especially towards the leader, they were filled with complex emotions. This person actually killed Lei Yuan and Sidu Xiao. Lingyun's sect was also massacred under his leadership, right? Not only that, the actual situation is far from that. Apart from Yuan Yi, Qi Si, and Li Xiong, as far as I know, Qin Shui from Qixiao Pavilion and Lu Minghong from Xianyang Palace were also killed by him. So terrifying? The crowd subconsciously glanced at the team from Qixiao Pavilion and Xianyang Palace. Yang Su, Hien, and the rest all had gloomy expressions on their faces. You missed one. Who else? The war god of War Palace, Chen Lu, was also killed by him. Rumble. There seemed to be thunder in the heavens and earth. Everyone who heard this felt a huge wave in their hearts. Astonishment. Absolute astonishment. In an instant, even the few imperial officials from Imperial Greatness Palace, Lai Xingyuan, Lin Ninghe, and Sidu Hanya, who were ranked 3rd on the excellence list, were somewhat astonished. Everyone's gaze swept over the 4 people from the War God Palace. Then, they looked at the people from the martial sect in confusion. Chen Lu was killed. He actually dared to appear on the Sacred War platform. He was courting death. Are they crazy? The 4 war gods are all here. These people? Everyone had a strange look in their eyes. No one could understand what the people from the martial sect were thinking. They still had no intention of stopping. The people from the martial sect passed through the vast and majestic sacred war platform and entered the central region. Looks like the one who fought with Xiao Yao Cheng was also him. TSK. Even Xiao Yao Cheng was defeated. Who exactly is this guy? He killed so many geniuses on the excellence list. Without a doubt, in the eyes of the crowd, the young figure was a super dark horse that charged out from the crowd. Ever since the day the Holy War began, he had been slaughtering his way to the heavens with the momentum of slaughtering the Holy War. Similarly, the worst thing he had done was to appear here today. Even if the War God Palace was excluded, the Thunder Saint Clan and Wind Frost City would not let them go. This was obviously a situation of certain death. The steady footsteps stopped when they neared the edge of the first sacred war platform. The calm and composed young figure raised his head slightly. His deep eyes, like those of a king, shot straight into the sky. He was especially calm as he stared at the four mountain-like figures in the void. You're quite lucky. You didn't die even after that. War God Helion Chi had a mocking smile on his face. But you should just hide in a corner and wait until the sacred war recruitment ceremony is over. You don't want to live? Contempt. It was as if he was looking down on ants. Helion Chi revealed a cold smile that made people's hearts palpitate. However, Chu Hen was indifferent. His lips moved slightly as he spat out a few words. I'm here to take back my things. Chapter 14:21. I'm here to take back my things. His indifferent voice was as calm as the water in an ancient well. It was neither warm nor sullen, and did not seem like he was facing a formidable enemy at all. Even the people from the martial sect behind him were the same. Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yin, Qi Qianying, Zhao Qingyi, Zhao Qingkai, and even Mu Mian and Tai Men were not afraid at all, even if they were facing the War God Palace. Things? The crowd couldn't help but feel confused. The War God Palace took Chu Hen's things? But there were a few people who seemed to understand what Chu Hen was talking about. He should be referring to the formless Emperor Blade. Oh, the 16th ranked god weapon? That's right. The two of them had already fought in the tomb of the Fortune Emperor. Who won? The one from the martial sect was defeated. He was struck into the Dian River by Helion Chi with 3 axes. Even his weapon was taken away. Since that's the case, he still dares to come today? Isn't he courting death? Who knows? While the crowd was shocked, there were also many people who were secretly mocking Chu Hen. After all, at that time, Chu Hen couldn't even withstand several of dueling War God Helion's moves. Although at that time, Star Disparity War God Qi Qianling also attacked together. Although Qi Qianling and Chu Hen had also attacked, the difference between them was obvious. A mocking smile appeared on Helion Chi's face as he stared down at Chu Hen, who was on the sacred battle platform. Not bad. If you didn't appear today, I would have been willing to show you a trace of mercy. You can't take your things, but I also want your life. Helion Chi's voice was cold as killing intent surged in his eyes. As he finished speaking, he raised his hand. Wah! A ball of light rapidly rotated in his palm. It was accompanied by a sharp killing intent. Helion Chi moved his wrist, and a blade of light immediately tore through the air, sweeping up a piercingly cold cyclone as it slashed towards Chu Hen. Disappear? Idiot who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Everyone's expression changed. Every time he attacked, he would take his life. It was obvious that Helion Chi was extremely displeased with Chu Hen's appearance. This was a provocation to him. It was an act of disdain towards the dignity of the War God Palace. At this moment, he just wanted to make Chu Hen bleed on the spot. Xiao! The extremely swift and fierce swing of the axe was extremely fast, like the light wheel that tore through the sky. War God Duel's killing power was something no one present could compare to. It was as though the spectators could already see the tragic scene of blood splattering high up in the air. The terrifying explosive force slashed down at the speed of light, and the sharp needle-like force crushed down. Chu Hen raised his cold eyes slightly, and remained motionless until the axe reached the top of his head. Whoosh! In the next moment, A circle of thick and powerful air waves stacked on the surface of the platform. Mixed with the vibrating sound of sharp weapons, a strong gust of wind suddenly spread out. Everyone's pupils constricted as well. The scene of blood splattering on the stage did not happen. Instead, it was replaced by an unimaginable scene. They saw Chu Hen raise his left hand, and his 5 fingers firmly grasped a shining golden axe in his palm. His body did not move, and his feet did not move even half a step. His firm and resolute aura was like a statue in the chaotic airflow. Wah! In an instant, everyone was shocked. He caught it. This guy. He caught War God Duel's axe with his bare hands. This scene was absolutely shocking. Lin Yinghe, Lei Jun, Situ Hanya, Ji Tao, Yi Zhou, and many other monstrous geniuses subconsciously narrowed their eyes. Among those present, the number of people who could catch War God Duel's axe with their bare hands could definitely be counted. But what was unbelievable was that Chu Hen did not release any external force at all, and the stone slabs under his feet were not damaged at all. In an instant, all the impact force was disintegrated. Those who were able to do this were even rarer. "You are very weak," Chu Hen said faintly. Huh. As soon as these words came out, the crowd was in an uproar. He said that the top genius ranked 9th on the list was very weak. No one had ever said this before. Arrogant. Absolute arrogance. Priest War God Ji Liang and Star Disparity War God Qi Qianling looked at each other and saw the coldness in each other's eyes. Even Wei Yan, Hu Bingyu, Qin Yong, and Tang Bufan, who was weak due to his injuries, looked at him in surprise. Without a doubt, Chu Hen's words immediately ignited War God Duel's anger. "What did you say? How dare a loser like you speak so arrogantly in front of me?" Killing intent exploded in War God Duel's eyes as he pounced towards Chu Hen with a monstrous aura. As he bent down and moved, a dazzling light appeared in his palm once again. He Lianqi once again threw out an extremely sharp spiral light blade. Zong! Heavy air patterns dragged between heaven and earth. This attack of War God Duel also borrowed the momentum from his dive. The impact force and speed of the axe were several times faster than before. The lethality it contained was definitely huge. Die! As soon as War God Duel's voice fell, a lightning arc appeared in Chu Hen's eyes as he swung the axe in the opposite direction. Following a series of purple electric arcs jumping between his palm and arm, an axe blade surrounded by purple electric energy burst out. Bang! The violent explosion was like a clap of thunder. The electric axe blade that Chu Hen swung out intercepted the War God Duel axe in midair. The moment the two collided, thousands of sparks bloomed between heaven and earth. However, what was unbelievable was that in just a split second, the axe flickering with purple electric arcs actually forcefully pierced through War God Duel axe's spinning light blade. Oh my God! Everyone outside the arena turned pale with fright. In an instant, the second War God Duel axe from War God Duel axe was shattered. However, the attack of the axe that was flickering with electric arcs was not reduced at all. It continued to sweep towards War God Duel axe like a beam of light. War God Duel axe's expression changed greatly. Without any time to react or dodge, he hurriedly dodged to the side. The sound of a sharp weapon cutting through flesh was abnormally ear-piercing. The scene in front of everyone seemed to have fallen into a state of pause. War God Duel axe's pupils rapidly shrank to the size of a needle. Along with a strand of hair that was cut off, the skin on the left side of his face immediately split open and blood spurted out. The peerlessly sharp axe directly brushed past War God Duel axe's head. Oh my God! That was close. Countless people instantly felt their heartstrings tremble. So close. So ruthless. So terrifying. Just a little bit more, and War God Duel axe would have almost lost his head. War God Duel axe was instantly stunned. The pain that originated from the left side of his face instantly made him a little sluggish. It had been a long time since he had tasted pain. However, before War God Duel axe could recover, the whirlpool at his side flowed. Under the fluttering frost dust, a cold and indifferent voice entered his ears. Is this all you've got now? War God Duel. The frivolous voice contained a hint of mockery. War God Duel Axe's heart fiercely trembled. He looked to the side and saw that Chu Hen, who had been on the stage just a second ago, had suddenly appeared next to him. His speed was so fast that he seemed to be following closely behind that axe swing. Oomph. At the same time, War God Qi Qianling reacted with the fastest speed possible. "You bastard, stay away from him!" Qi Qianling shouted coldly. As she rapidly rushed towards her opponent, she shook her arm, and a dazzling ring of light enveloped him. Starlight Shield. Buzz! A gorgeous ring of light immediately spread out between Chu Hen and War God Dual Axe. Following that, an arc-shaped shield of light immediately shielded War God Dual Axe. War God Dual Axe heaved a sigh of relief. He was fully aware of the powerful defensive power of this starlight shield. Outside the arena, everyone was also secretly amazed by Qi Qianling's reaction speed. However, in the next instant, an incomparably heavy and violent explosion reverberated through the air. A vast and mighty black ring of light spread out like ripples on the surface of water. Everyone's hearts clenched. Chu Hen's heavy punch landed solidly on that dazzling shield of light. Like a popping bubble, the starlight shield directly exploded into countless crystalline fragments. How is this possible? War God Dual Axe turned pale with fright. Bang! Following that, the surging dragon-like fist energy landed solidly on his body. His internal organs trembled and his blood surged. War God Dual Axe directly lost his balance in the air. He didn't even have the chance to react. Chu Hen flipped in the air and raised his leg, sending a heavy kick towards War God Dual Axe's chest. Bang! The terrifying force of impact descended vertically. War God Dual Axe was like a sandbag as he smashed down from the sky. Chaotic air currents gushed forth, and with a thunderous boom, rocks were blasted apart as dust filled the air. He Lianqi smashed heavily into a sacred battle platform below. The terrifying explosive force from the impact stacked on top of each other as thousands upon thousands of cracks appeared on the platform. The enormous arena of the numinous sky that spanned hundreds of meters was instantly covered in web-like cracks. In that instant, the entire arena fell silent. War God Dual Axe, ranked 9th on the wind cloud list, actually couldn't even withstand a single blow. Calm. Wonderful Bookhouse. Chapter 1422. 1 second to remember. There was no pop-up window for free reading. Rumble. The dust and rocks that covered the heavens and the earth were like a swarm of locusts that had been startled and were sent flying in all directions. With He Lianqi's body as the center, the terrifying inertia spread across the Lingxiao battle platform. Countless cracks of various sizes spread across the platform like an irregular spiderweb. At the same time, the hearts of everyone present were equally shocked. 9th on the wind cloud list, one of the 5 Saint Kings of the War God Palace. He was lying pathetically in a pile of rocks. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. The difference in their strength was actually so great. The hearts of all the sects and clans trembled. How did this guy? Yang Zhongxiao of the 5 Element Saint clan was shocked. Just a moment ago, he was thinking of finding Chu Hen to get back at him. But in the blink of an eye, Yang Zhongxiao didn't even have the courage to think about it. Just as Lininghe had said, if he stood in front of Chu Hen, he wouldn't even be able to take one move. The Thunder Saint clan was also shocked. Even Lei Zhen couldn't help but frown. Not to mention Lei Zhixin and Lei Xiaolan. They were trembling. Xianyang Palace, Qixiao Pavilion, and Huanyu Palace were normal first-rate sects that had conflicts with Chu Hen, but they didn't even dare to breathe too loudly. Jitao, who was ranked 13th on the Wind Cloud Sect's Ejo list, shook his head uneasily. Another monster. Jitao couldn't think of a second word to describe him other than monster. He was in the top 10 of the Wind Cloud list. He was 4 ranks higher than Jitao, but he couldn't even last 3 moves against him. If he wasn't a monster, what was he? Just over a month ago, Jitao had personally witnessed Chu Hen almost losing his life to He Lianqi's hands. In such a short period of time, there was a complete change. Every dog has its day, but the speed at which it spun was too terrifying. The people from the martial sect were also shocked. Although they knew that Chu Hen's cultivation had increased greatly, they never imagined that it would be this powerful. He's ranked 9th on the honor roll. Junior brother Chu Hen is impressive, Wang Li sighed softly. Yeah, someone from our martial sect has finally broken into the top 10 of the honor roll. If the sect leader finds out, he will definitely be very happy. Qiu Xingyi's voice was somewhat solemn. The people of the martial sect behind him all had solemn expressions. Each of them had a heroic spirit that was unafraid of death. Today, a fierce battle was unavoidable. How dare you? How dare you injure him? Star Disparity War God Qi Qianling was enraged. She floated in the air, her cold eyes filled with coldness. I will kill you. The moment she finished speaking, Qi Qianling put her hands together in front of her, palms facing down. Her index fingers and thumbs touched, forming a triangular seal in the middle. Buzz, along with a powerful energy fluctuation, a gorgeous triangular array appeared in the void in front of him. Tens of thousands of luxurious runes intertwined inside and outside the array. Then, the array erupted with endless starlight, and countless condensed sword rays burst out of the array, sweeping up a piercingly cold, murderous aura. All of them pierced towards Chu Hen below. Starry Heaven Sword Array. Swoosh! Whoosh! The terrifyingly powerful sword shadows were like a river of nebula swords falling from the sky. Qi Qianling's body erupted with an astonishing aura and killing intent. However, Qi Qianling was ranked 11th on the honor roll. Even He Lianqi, who was ranked 9th, could not withstand a single blow. Her power naturally posed no pressure to Chu Hen. As expected, facing such a fierce attack from Qi Qianling, Chu Hen did not panic at all. His deep eyes revealed a hint of arrogance. Then, Chu Hen leaped up and faced the sweeping Starry Heaven Sword Array head-on. Was he going to take it head-on? The crowd outside was shocked once again. Wasn't this too disrespectful? Chi. As he moved, purple vine-like lightning immediately flowed all over his body. In an instant, Chu Hen's speed increased explosively. Like a sharp purple shadow blade, he directly charged into the dense river of sword arrays. Bang! Boom! It was as easy as breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Dragging 3,000 lightning shadows in the air, Chu Hen was like an aurora shuttling through countless spatial turbulences. He hacked at the majestic sword array, and all the condensed sword shadows that collided head-on were shattered into thousands of afterimages. It seems like you like to sneak attack others. Star Shu, War God. A cold and calm voice entered her ears. Qi Qianling's heart skipped a beat. Before she could react, there was an explosion. Bang! The turbulent airflow spread through the air, and the triangular divine array in front of her palm suddenly collapsed and exploded. Rapid and fierce air pressure whistled through the air. Qi Qianling's panicked eyes immediately reflected a handsome and slightly playful face. You! Chu Hen's speed was so fast that Qi Qianling felt that she couldn't withstand it. Subconsciously, she retreated backwards. But Chu Hen's aura was already in front of her. However, at this critical moment, a soft hidden force suddenly pulled Qi Qianling to the side. And, in the instant that the Qi Qianling retreated, a berserk palm energy swept out like a dragon's aura, heading straight for Chu Hen. Don't be too proud. The leader of a colony of ants, a low voice mixed with a trace of ruthlessness. The audience was shocked again and again. Feeling the fierce power fluctuations coming from the palm energy, Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, but he still had no intention of dodging. Then he also struck out with his palm. Buzz, strong, true essence surged in his palm, and a luxurious circle of silver starlight rapidly condensed. 7 bright spots of light could faintly be seen in Chu Hen's palm, arranged into the pattern of the Big Dipper. 7-star Soul Critical Strike. Bang! In the next second, the 2 palms collided with each other. The sky above the sacred battle platform immediately trembled. Where the two palms met, the space was shockingly distorted to the extreme, and the chaotic shockwaves were like stormy waves that soared into the sky. Tens of thousands of aftershocks surged in all directions. Chu-Hen's body faintly trembled, while the other party rapidly retreated. The scenes that happened one after another continuously stimulated the visual nerves of the geniuses of the major sects and forces, and everyone secretly gasped. Finally, even he made a move. Everyone stared at the figure standing in front of Chu-Hen in the sky, above the sacred battle platform, with cautious and complicated gazes. The person who made the move was none other than Zhiliang. It was the priest war god ranked 4th on the wind cloud list, Zhiliang. However, it was precisely because of Zhiliang that everyone was even more shocked by Chu-Hen. He Lianqi, Qi Qianling, Zhiliang. He had defeated 3 war gods in a row. A mere martial ancestor, a mere Chu-Hen, was so earth-shattering. 3 war gods making a move, TSK. This is unprecedented. Everyone sighed. Who could compare? Even if he dies here today, his name will go down in history. What a monster! Above the void. Kill him. Qi Qianling, who had retreated behind Zhiliang, shouted coldly. Even though Zhiliang had saved the Star Disparity war goddess, Qi Qianling, at the critical moment, her complexion wasn't very good. He did not gain the slightest advantage in that palm strike. For Zhiliang, who was ranked 4th on the wind cloud list, this was definitely not enough. The leader of a group of ants, huh? Chu-Hen softly repeated the title that the other party had given him. Shortly after, he coldly laughed and said, an ant, actually wanted 3 war gods to team up against me. This can be considered a great honor. Zhiliang's eyes darkened, and his face was filled with cold, killing intent. I announce that your arrogance ends here. After saying that, Zhiliang's aura exploded. Strange and demonic spirit tattoos appeared on his arms and face. Then, he raised his hand angrily and raised his palm. Astral winds raged, and the sky changed color. Rumble, along with a high firmament battle platform that had burst open below, a shocking tentacle suddenly shot out from the shattered rocks into the sky. This tentacle was especially huge. It directly extended to thousands of feet in the void. It looked like an octopus tentacle, but it was covered in black armor and glowed with a blood-like light. It was like the limb of a demon from the 9 hells. The astonishing spatial rhythm caused the surroundings to tremble incessantly. The powerful aura of the dark abyss traversed heaven and earth, sweeping across the sky. The expressions of the spectators changed again and again. They all stared at the incomparably huge tentacle in horror. Could this be the blood sacrifice art? That's right. Signing a contract with an ancient dark creature is a secret technique similar to a summoning technique. But what's different from a summoning technique is that the summoner must offer his own blood essence and true essence to it in order to obtain its power. Priest War God, blood sacrifice art. Everyone had only heard of this name before. Now that they had seen Zhiliang use this art with their own eyes, they could not help but feel an inexplicable fear. It's too late to regret now. Zhiliang's face was cold. He raised one palm and released a strange power rhythm. Then, the incomparably huge black tentacle burst out with a thick blood-red light. Like an unstoppable giant vine, it reached the sky. A shadow then enveloped Chu-Hen. Accompanied by particularly terrifying power, the huge tentacle brought with it the power to split the sky and slash towards Chu-Hen's head. The sound was like thunder. The wind roared. Everyone could feel the terrible destructive power emanating from the tentacle. Once hit, even a master who had stepped into the Saint King realm would be instantly blown to pieces. Looking at such a magnificent and strange scene, many people were worried about Chu-Hen. After all, he was a super monster who ranked 4th on the list. Zhiliang's cultivation was far from what he Lianqi could compare with. The huge black shadow quickly pressed down, and the biting cold wind was like a frost knife stabbing people's faces. Do you regret it? The corners of Chu-Hen's mouth curled up slightly, forming a mocking smile. A purple light flashed in the sky, and the huge, sacred battle platform was suddenly illuminated. Crack! The rapid and sharp sound of air waves was abnormally ear-piercing, and the impact of 3,000 electric currents lit up the sky. Everyone's pupils trembled slightly. In the next moment, the huge black tentacle suddenly stopped in the air above Chu Hen's head. Chapter 1423. In 1 second, remember. There was no pop-up window for free reading. Crackle. The rapid and sharp sound of electricity tore through the sky, like the loud cries of tens of thousands of thunderbirds. Everyone's pupils violently shrank, and every pair of eyes reflected the dazzling purple light that stunned the sky. In an instant, the giant tentacle that had created a monstrous and destructive presence stopped its violent attack. The scene that was reflected in everyone's eyes was that of an incomparably solid beam of lightning piercing through the sky, forcibly penetrating that incomparably huge and terrifying tentacle. Rumble, 3,000 lightning strikes. Purple light illuminated the sky. Everyone's eyes widened. The bolt of lightning was like a sharp divine ray that pierced through the sky hundreds of meters away. And the source of the lightning beam, however, came from Chu Hen's right palm. Powerful lightning arcs wandered around Chu Hen's body. They were incomparably manic, as if there were gorgeous demonic vines lingering around him. What a powerful lightning power! Even the bloodline limit of the Thunder Sacred race might not be able to match up to such astounding lightning energy, right? Yes. Other than Lei Jun, no one else can match up to him. Everyone subconsciously compared this power to Lei Jun and the others when they sensed the powerful lightning energy erupting from Chu Hen's body. As a sacred race that primarily cultivated lightning energy, the Thunder Sacred race wore indescribable gloominess on their faces. It's the profound, killer divine lightning, Lei Xiaolan said timidly from the center of the crowd. Profound, killer divine lightning? Everyone was slightly shocked. How can the profound, killer divine lightning be so powerful? And the color isn't right. Someone asked. It's also merged with the bloodline limit power. Lei Xiaolan bit her lower lip and answered. She couldn't help but recall the purple flames that had appeared many times in the past. That extremely domineering and terrifying flame. Chu Hen had merged it with the profound, killer divine lightning because it was the bloodline limit power. As Chu Hen's cultivation increased, the power of the profound, killer divine lightning would also grow stronger. This was Lei Xiaolan's conclusion. Then what is the limit of his bloodline? Someone asked coldly. Lei Xiaolan couldn't help but clench her fists. Her lips were slightly white from biting down on them. She shook her head. I don't know. He did not know. Perhaps what she really wanted to say was that she wasn't sure. Otherwise, it would be too terrifying. Skylight blade. Chu Hen shouted softly. Crack! The incomparably sharp beam of purple lightning emitted an extremely sharp rhythm. Then, Chu Hen's arm that wielded the power of lightning moved upwards. In an instant, the solid beam of light that pierced through the huge tentacle moved along with it. An unstoppable and terrifying cutting force quickly split the tentacles inside and outside. Neat incisions continuously cut through the tentacle's tissues. Woo! There seemed to be an ear-piercing roar in the air as black blood rained down like rain. In the blink of an eye, the giant tentacle that seemed to have come from the dark abyss was forcibly cut apart from the middle. It was an incomparably spectacular scene that was exceptionally shocking. Chu Hen, who stood proudly in the sky, was like a demon slayer that shocked the world. Bang, bang, the giant tentacle that was cut into two heavily smashed onto the ground. Like a heavy python, the broken body of the high firmament battle platform smashed into pieces. Many people on the sacred battle platform rapidly retreated to avoid being implicated. How did this fellow's cultivation become so powerful? At the edge of the sacred battle platform, the people of the Spirit Phoenix Valley who had just arrived were all extremely shocked, consecutively defeating 3 great war gods. Such a scene directly caused their hearts to tremble. No matter how arrogant he is, he will die without a doubt today. You guys just watch. He won't be able to hold on any longer. Because of Xiao Yao Cheng, the people of the Spirit Phoenix Valley no longer just repulsed Chu Hen. Instead, it directly rose to hatred. They only wanted to see him die in the hands of the War God Palace. Damn it! War God Ji Liang's eyes widened in anger, emitting an intense chill. I'm going to tear you into 1,000 pieces, you bastard. After saying that, a dark aura that was even more majestic than before engulfed the sky and earth. Ji Liang's anger was like a storm. However, at this moment, an indifferent voice actually came from behind. Step down. Hearing this voice, everyone present was startled. Moreover, everyone's heart simultaneously surged with a lot of reverence. Because not long ago, the owner of this voice publicly displayed the terrifying dominance of the wind cloud list. Buzz, the sky was filled with energy patterns that intertwined. Not far from Ji Liang, the space in front of him showed a strange, distorted state, like a dreamy whirlpool. In the next instant, that distorted whirlpool rotated in the opposite direction, and an extraordinarily domineering figure appeared in the middle of the whirlpool. You will embarrass the War God Palace, the other party said indifferently. What? Everyone's expression changed. War God Ji Liang's face turned pale as he looked at that familiar figure in disbelief. Embarrass the War God Palace. The other party was obviously saying that Ji Liang was not Chu Hen's opponent. Fourth on the wind cloud list, the famous War God Palace holy ruler. The other one was a nobody who had not been heard of before. After defeating 2 war gods in a row, even the war god priest had to avoid him now. If it was someone else who said this, it would definitely attract a lot of disdain. However, the person who said this was Mang Yuan too, the invincible war god who ruled the wind cloud list. No one would doubt his words. In fact, no one would dare to doubt him. Although Ji Liang was extremely unwilling, he did not dare to disobey Mang Yuantu's words. He immediately took a deep breath, retracted his restless true Yuan aura, and then retreated to the side. Ji Liang's retreat also indirectly announced that he was avoiding Chu Hen. In an instant, Wei Yin, Lei Zhen, Lin Inghe, Situ Hanye, and the other geniuses below the 4th place on the wind cloud list all narrowed their eyes. Their hearts were restless. If even Ji Liang was not Chu Hen's opponent, then there were only 3 people left on the list who could compete with him. New Moon Sacred Clans, Lai Shengyuan, Great Emperor Palace's Tang Bufan, and the overlord of the list who was standing in front of Chu Hen at this moment, Mang Yuan too. How domineering. What kind of competition was this? If the consecutive defeats of the war god Xing Shu and the war god Xing Shu had only brought shock to the crowd, then at this moment, the crowd realized how terrifying Chu Hen was. In Ji Tao's words, he's another monster. You have the right to speak to me now. Mang Yunta looked down from above, still exuding the supreme deterrence of a king looking down on his subjects. The right to speak to him. This sentence sounded sarcastic, but in the eyes of countless people, it was a great affirmation. There were really not many people who could speak to Mang Yuan too. This was the respect given by a king. Chu Hen looked up slightly, his deep and calm eyes not the slightest bit moved. Although it's an honor, I don't feel very grateful. I have to admit that I admire your courage. I am willing to see you as above Tang Bufan. Wow. As soon as this was said, the crowd was in an uproar. Over at the Imperial Grand Hall, Tang Bufan's face was pale. He clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his palms. However, the martial sex people's expressions were exceptionally solemn when they were praised by Mang Yuan too. Han Yun's sex Izhou frowned and said in a deep voice, "It's appeared." Ji Tao's eyes narrowed slightly, and he was also moved. He shook his head and sighed. First time, the people around him were still puzzled. Appeared? First time? What was he talking about? 5 Elements Sacred Clans Lin Inghe, Thunder Sacred Clans Lei Zhen, Wind Frost Cities Situ Hanye, and many other top geniuses clenched their fists at the same time. They all noticed one thing. Lai Shengyuan, who was ranked 3rd on the list, also had a profound expression on his devilish face. Mang Yuan too. For the first time, he's emitting killing intent. Chapter 1424. For the first time, Mang Yuan-tu is emitting killing intent. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew across the sky. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, the geniuses on the ranking list were all shocked. They could clearly sense for the first time that Mang Yuan-tu was emitting killing intent that they had never felt before. Even when he was facing Tang Bufan, Mang Yuan-tu didn't show any killing intent. Should they be proud? He was the only person who could make the overlord of the ranking list feel enmity. Should they panic? That wasn't a good thing. Some were happy, while others were sad. He finally got what he deserved. Those who are too arrogant won't have a good ending. Everyone from the Spirit Phoenix Valley said hatefully, to be treated like this by Mang Yuan-tu, he can die with no regrets. It's a pity that we can't avenge Senior Lei Yuan with our own hands. Someone from the Thunder Sacred Clan mocked. Lei Jixin, who was standing in the crowd, gritted her teeth, and a glimmer of light appeared in her dim eyes. Is her nightmare finally going to end? I'm willing to see you above Tang Bufan. Listening to this comment, Lin Fan was dumbfounded. A faint ripple appeared in Chu Hen's eyes. His handsome eyebrows slightly raised, so, you're the first person that I, Mang Yuan-tu, admire. I won't let someone like you live for another day. He didn't hide his thoughts at all. The silent murderous intent grew stronger. The cold wind that swept across was bone-chilling. Mang Yuan-tu's words were very calm, as if he was a monarch looking down on all the nobles in the throne room. It was precisely this indifferent attitude of looking down on everyone that had directly crushed Tang Bufan's confidence and extinguished his fighting spirit. Every word he said was filled with immense pressure. It could be said to kill. The Mang origin painting was so terrifying that it made one's heart palpitate. None of the people present dared to go against the will of the other party. The invisible pressure was like a mountain that enveloped Chu Hen's body. Everyone could clearly feel that Chu Hen's aura was gradually weakening. Just like Tang Bufan, just now, Mang Yuan-tu said arrogantly, "Kill yourself? I will give the others a way out. This is the benevolence of the ruler of the Wind Cloud leaderboard to you. Mercy." It was these two words again, two words that could make one's soul tremble. It was like a decree from an emperor. It was inviolable. Just when everyone thought that Chu Hen couldn't bear the pressure and was about to follow in Tang Bufan's footsteps, something unexpected happened. Ha ha ha! Chu Hen laughed heartily without the slightest hint of insanity, only thick disdain and contempt. I thought that the legendary invincible god of war would be terrifying, but it turns out that he's nothing more than this. Thank you for your kindness, but my men aren't afraid of death at all. Buzz. The aura that had been suppressed was like a stormy sea that had been stacked up and instantly completed its counterattack. Chi-Chi, gorgeous and manic purple-colored lightning arcs erupted from Chu Hen's palm. The rapidly scuttling lightning arcs were like intertwining electric vines, directly converging into a lightning sword in Chu Hen's hand. Chu Hen pointed his sword at Mang Yuan-tu, displaying an insufferably domineering aura. Save your benevolence for yourself. If you are the ruler of the Wind Cloud leaderboard, then I am the person who slaughtered the leaderboard. The person who slaughtered the leaderboard. Rumble. 3,000 lightning strikes in the 9 heavens. A hurricane swept up thick dark clouds and whistled over with the momentum of covering the sky. In an instant, there was no one who wasn't shocked, no one who wasn't trembling. The unfamiliar young figure in everyone's eyes exuded an aura that made people's hearts palpitate. Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yan, Zhao Qingyi, and the rest of the martial ancestor disciples all had an imposing aura, each of their eyes flashing like stars. Back at the Lake of Sky Despair, they had already died once. If they were afraid of death, they wouldn't have stepped onto the sacred battle platform today. The sacred battle summons the martial ancestor. Everyone shouted in unison. A puny martial ancestor. A puny Chu Hen. The tens of thousands of people inside and outside the sacred battle platform instantly felt their hearts tremble. Since he was the one who slaughtered the leaderboard, how could they yield? Raging winds howled between heaven and earth. The space between Chu Hen and Mang Yuanta fell into a rhythmic and uneasy state. The battle was about to begin. After killing Emperor Mo's subject Tang Bufan, this was the second time someone challenged the invincible war god's prestige. And this time, the atmosphere directly ignited the surging blood of the entire audience. Does this guy know who he is talking to? The war god, Ji Liang, clenched his fists and looked at the young figure, as if he was looking at a monster. Even though he was also one of the 5 saint kings of the war god palace, he clearly knew how terrifying Mang Yuantu was. Lunatic! Tang Bufan frowned and scolded disdainfully. Only those who had fought with Mang Yuantu would know how powerless they were at that time. The surging waves covered the sky, and the bleak wind was like a blade. Mang Yuantu's eyes flashed with a sharp, cold light. "I'll take back my benevolence. All of your lives, I'll take them." As soon as he finished speaking, Mang Yuantu erupted with a powerful aura that he had never felt before. Chu Hen was fearless. Purple light revolved around his body. Kill! Crack! A series of lightning bolts dragged through the void. Chu Hen was like an aurora blade cutting through the long river as he slashed diagonally towards his opponent. His momentum was fierce and biting cold. Mang Yuanta sneered. Just in time. As soon as he finished speaking, he clenched his right palm and released an abnormally strong and powerful rhythm from his palm. Along with the distorted space, a series of dazzling runes appeared all over Mang Yuantu's arm. "Heaven imprisoning lock," he shouted loudly. Buzz, a powerful wave of air spread out. When Chu Hen approached, Mang Yuantu's palm suddenly released tens of thousands of rays of blue light. Walala, like a star exploding, holy light illuminated the vast sky. Crystal clear, dazzling, dark blue chains of light spread out in all directions like wings that were in full bloom. The incomparably gorgeous dark blue chain of light blocked in front of Chu Hen with the power to cross the sky. At the same time, an incomparably powerful sealing force quickly enveloped and crushed towards Chu Hen. It's actually the war god palace's strongest sealing technique, heaven imprisoning lock. Is he trying to end this battle quickly? Someone outside the arena exclaimed. That's normal. He has already angered Mang Yuantu. He will definitely not have a good ending. Compared to his battle with Tang Bufan, Mang Yuantu's body was clearly more vicious. He used a terrifying killing technique right from the start. He did not test Tang Bufan's strength at all. Blue chains of light that traversed the horizon directly sealed off Chu Hen's path. Accompanied by an unshakable sealing power, all of the chains of light were like the wings of a giant beast that had retracted, gathering towards the center. Chu Hen's gaze turned cold, and purple lightning flashed in his eyes. 1,000 lightning escape, crack, in an instant. Chu Hen's surroundings astonishingly exploded with peerless pillars of lightning. Each of the lightning beams was like a giant, sharp wooden stake that crisscrossed each other, attacking the blue light chains in a disorderly manner. Bang! Clang! Sparks and fire rained down from the sky. 2 different colored pillars of light collided wantonly in the sky. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the sharp and fierce pillars of lightning cut the dazzling holy radiance chains one after another. One after another, the blue chains of light shattered and danced in the air. Just as everyone was marveling at the strength of Chu Hen's attack, Star Disparity war goddess Qi Qianling sneered disdainfully. It's useless, what? Everyone's hearts skipped a beat. Before anyone could think about what Mang Yuantu had just said, an unexpected scene occurred. The mysterious talisman on Mang Yuantu's right arm grew even more dazzling, and the blue chains of light that had been torn apart and scattered in the air actually fused back together. The seams were flawless, without the slightest gap. This is? Countless people were stunned. What's going on? It's actually reconnected. This is the terrifying part of the heaven imprisoning lock. As long as the user doesn't withdraw the power of the seal will continue to surge and become stronger. That's right, the heaven imprisoning lock can't be broken. It's an almost unbreakable sealing force. Those who were familiar with this technique shook their heads inwardly. They couldn't help but feel sorry for Chu Hen. An almost unbreakable sealing technique. Just this sentence alone seemed to have sentenced Chu Hen to death in an instant. As soon as it began, it would usher in the end. You will suffer in my seal for all eternity, Mang Yuan said coldly. The blue chains of light that had been repaired were like intertwining dragon pythons, rapidly devouring the space that Chu Hen could move in. Just as Chu Hen's figure was about to be engulfed, Chu Hen's right palm moved. Crackle, crackle. The violent power of lightning rapidly converged, instantly transforming into a peerlessly sharp holy sword. Whoosh! The beautiful sword shadow dragged along a powerful wave of air and a dazzling arc of lightning as it shot forward. Heaven blade! Bang! The holy lightning sword erupted with a boundless killing intent, instantly piercing through one of the blue chains of light. As it cut through the chain of light, its speed increased explosively, sweeping up an even more astonishing force as it slashed towards Mang Yuan. Everyone was secretly shocked by the power of the purple lightning. However, Mang Yuan's eyes were filled with disdain. After saying that, he stretched out his left arm, a spiral of light revolving in the center of his palm. Bang! As soon as the purple lightning sword came into contact with Mang Yuan's palm, it instantly shattered. Starting from the tip of the sword, it shattered inch by inch, exploding in thousands of fragments of crystal. Humph, struggling on the brink of death. Before he could finish his sentence, the moment the sacred sword of thunder and lightning completely collapsed, a shadow that emitted an extraordinary aura suddenly appeared at the end of the broken hilt. What's going on? Looking at the figure that was still sealed by the heaven-imprisoning lock a moment ago, the expressions of everyone present changed drastically. He escaped from a seal? How did he do it? No one clearly saw what had just happened. Humph, this sealing technique is truly full of flaws. The corners of Chu Hen's mouth curled up as lightning flashed in the center of his palm. Mang Yuan's pupils violently shrank. Hiss! Dust flew everywhere, and the air whistled. In the next moment, the scene in the void seemed to freeze in everyone's mind. Chu Hen's palm, which was covered in lightning, drew a crescent moon-shaped light in the air. Together with this stunning arc of light, Mang Yuan's arm, which was flickering with mysterious runes, was neatly severed. The severed arm quickly flew away from Mang Yuan's shoulder, and a peerless sharpness that seemed capable of tearing through the heavens penetrated the depths of everyone's soul. Chapter 1425. This sealing technique is truly full of flaws. Qin Wentian muttered. Along with those mocking words, a crescent-shaped purple lightning arc directly stunned the vast sky, touching the soul of everyone present. Under countless gazes filled with incomparable shock, Chu Hen's palm blade, which was flickering with lightning, was like a star that cut through the night sky. In the next moment, Mang Yuan's right arm was separated from his shoulder and flew away. Clang! Everyone who witnessed this scene felt as if their minds had been struck by a bolt of lightning. The scene before them seemed to freeze and then became infinitely slow. Everyone's heart was in turmoil. Oh my God! The genius disciples of the major sects all widened their eyes. Lai Xingyuan, Lin Yinghe, Lei Zhen, and Tang Bufan were all in disbelief. What did I just see? The heaven-imprisoning lock that was almost unbreakable had been broken by Chu Hen in an instant. He had even cut off one of Mang Yuan's arms in a flash. It was unimaginable, even though Tang Bufan had destroyed one of Mang Yuan's hands before this. He had made countless preparations beforehand. He advanced step by step and gained the upper hand before sacrificing one of his puppets to attack Mang Yuan. However, Chu Hen merely used less than 30 seconds to count to this number. The difference, the contrast was so obvious. What was even more puzzling was that no one had clearly seen how Chu Hen had escaped the heaven-imprisoning lock's range. It was just that his opponent had burst forth with extreme speed in an instant. He had directly passed through the heaven-imprisoning lock's range and arrived in front of Mang Yuan. Inside the martial sect, Yi Yao's beautiful eyes were a little moved as she murmured, "Flying immortal, flash." Others might not have been able to see the mystery behind it, but Yi Yao recognized Chu Hen's move at a glance. It was a move from the one-sword flying immortal technique, Flying Immortal's Flash. However, what puzzled Yi Yao was that the Flying Immortal's Flash needed the blue sky sword as a guide. Wherever the sacred sword went, it could instantly reach the blue sky sword. However, the blue sky sword had already been devoured by the formless Archblade. Chu Hen also had no weapon in his hand. However, he did not know that things were different now. Chu Hen, who had reached such a realm of cultivation, had already transcended the boundaries of the one-sword flying immortal art. Even if he didn't use the blue Rand sword, he could still use the Flying Immortal's Flash. Boom! Clang! As Mang Yuantu's right arm was chopped off, the mysterious runes that covered his arm to control the heaven-imprisoning lock also vanished. The gorgeous blue chain of light that traversed the heavens and the earth shattered and exploded onto the sky. A strong airflow filled the sky and the earth, causing frost and dust to scatter in the air. Mang Yuantu, who had his right arm chopped off, didn't show the slightest hint of pain. However, his eyes were exceptionally cold. At the same time, Chu Hen also seized the opportunity to pursue and attack. His figure flashed, and he appeared above Mang Yuantu. The corner of the latter's eyes narrowed, and his ice-cold face was immediately enveloped by a ball of brilliant purple lightning. "You're a little weak. Invincible, god of war." Hiss! As soon as he finished speaking, a violent force comparable to an astral dragon surged down. A heavy punch that exploded with the might of tens of thousands of lightning slammed into the center of Mang Yuantu's chest. Space violently trembled, and a vast purple shockwave burst forth like a halo. Mang Yuantu's chest caved in, and the tremendous destructive force sent him flying downwards. However, Chu Hen followed Mang Yuantu down, his fist covered in endless arcs of lightning tightly pressed against Mang Yuantu's chest. Boom! A heavy explosion once again rang out in everyone's ears. Chu Hen's fierce attack directly reached the sacred battle platform below. Rubble exploded everywhere. The ground was covered in cracks. Sand and stones flew everywhere, and the center of the first sacred battle platform rapidly caved in, forming a huge crater. Chu Hen's second heavy attack had forcefully smashed Mang Yuantu into the ground of the high firmament battle platform. Rumble. Layers of rubble collapsed, and inch by inch, the surface of the platform shattered. A terrifying shockwave swept out in all directions, and a biting, cold hurricane blew away the geniuses on the nearby platforms. Even the two pillars on the east and west sides of the first sacred battle platform, which were carved with giant dragons and golden pythons, shook uneasily. The fearsome force of impact felt as though it wanted to penetrate the entire sacred battle platform. Looking at the huge crater and the two people deeply embedded in the bottom of the platform, everyone's expression changed again and again. Weak. This word was like an incomparably resounding slap to the faces of every genius on the stellar list. If even Mang Yuantu was called weak, then what about the others? Buzz. Buzz. Just as the two of them sank into the fighting ring, a powerful wave of energy suddenly spread out from the bottom of the fighting ring. Following that, dazzling blue beams of light shot out like giant swords that pierced through the earth. Rumble. In the next instant, rubble exploded, and a monstrous wave of energy surged into the sky. A figure flickering with purple lightning leaped out from the rubble. Everyone's heart tightened. Their gazes were fixed on Chu Hen. However, there were no injuries on his body. Following that, a violent shockwave erupted like a volcanic eruption, accompanied by a terrifying aura. Another figure leaped into the sky like a demon god. Countless eyes were drawn to this second figure. Then, everyone's face trembled, and they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Whoa! Hiss! Everyone didn't dare to recognize him. Mang Yuantu's body was covered in wounds. His sternum was sunken and broken, and the bones in his legs were clearly broken. Coupled with the fact that he was missing an arm, he looked like a beggar on the street. Shock. Absolute shock. No one could have imagined that an overlord on the stellar list, a super genius at the peak of the Ninth Order Saint King realm, would be in such a sorry state. Ha 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 ha. However, Mang Yuantou actually laughed. His laughter was shocking, and it sent chills down everyone's spine. It's been a long time. I can't even remember the last time I was injured, but his voice paused, and his eyes turned cold. Mang Yuantou's body glowed with a dark gray light. Under everyone's fearful gazes, Mang Yuantou's broken bones were restored to their original position at a speed visible to the naked eye. His sunken chest also bulged. The blood flowing out of the wound quickly receded, and even the right arm that was missing grew back. Next, you'll feel how powerless you are, Hua. An intense and terrifying aura swept out in all directions. In just 2 blinks of an eye, Mang Yuantou's injuries were completely healed. There seemed to be nothing more frightening than this. War god Tang Bufan of the magnificent Emperor Palace felt uneasy. He knew this feeling very well. It's useless, he muttered helplessly. Mang Yuantou, who had an immortal body, was more monstrous than any other monster. His opponent wouldn't give him any chance to defeat him. Kacha! Mang Yuantou cracked his neck, producing a crisp sound. Then, the corners of his mouth curled up into a sinister and playful smile. Since you injured me so badly, I will bestow upon you the highest reward. Reward? Everyone felt a chill run down their spines. Chu Hen frowned slightly, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Who? A cold wind blew, and the sky changed color. Dazzling runes flickered on Mang Yuantou's right hand. The runes quickly arranged themselves into a strange vertical glyph formation. The glyph formation activated and erupted with a holy radiance. Under the twisting of the shining runes, the vertical glyph formation slowly cracked inward like 2 doors. Then, countless rays of dazzling silver-blue light poured out from the cracked glyph formation. What's that? Everyone's eyes widened, and, at the same time, they felt an extremely powerful and sharp aura sweeping out from it. This aura, could it be? It can't be wrong, it's definitely that. The crowd trembled, and the expressions of many monsters on the ranking list changed. Mang Yuantou reached his hand into the glyph formation while being shrouded by a silver-blue divine radiance. Then, he clenched his fist, and it was as if he was slowly pulling out a peerless item from another dimension. Hua! The unparalleled sharpness was shocking. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly. It's really that item. 9th on the divine weapon ranking. Destiny's Sword. Calm. Miao Shu Wu. Chapter 1426. The Heavenly Mandate Sword. An unparalleled divine weapon ranked 9th on the divine weapon list. Whoosh! A piercingly cold aura filled the sky and earth, setting off a stunning divine splendor. The silver-blue divine radiance erupted with the light of the stars. Everyone's eyes trembled as they stared at the dazzling light that Mang Yuantou had pulled out from the mysterious runic array. Whoosh! A frightening sound reverberated through the air. The geniuses on the divine weapon list, as well as the people from the various sects and forces, all narrowed their eyes in shock. The dazzling light disappeared, and a crystal blue sword appeared in Mang Yuantou's hand. The sword was over 1 meter long, and its entire body glowed with an exquisite blue ripple. If one were to look closely, they would see that the sword was faintly swaying with a dark gray aura. In an instant, the heavens and earth darkened, and the weather changed. The sun, moon, and stars seemed to lose their splendor. The brilliance of all things was overshadowed by the sharpness of the divine sword. You are the first person to make me take out the Heavenly Mandate Sword. Mang Yuantou gripped the divine sword tightly. His cold and mocking eyes were like 2 beams of sword light that wanted to pierce through Chu Hen. Chu Hen narrowed his eyes, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. So, should I be grateful to you? How arrogant. Whoosh! Mang Yuantou flipped his wrist, and the divine sword in his hand suddenly blossomed with a dazzling light. Then, dragging a huge sword momentum behind it, it pounced toward Chu Hen. Your arrogance ends here. With a swing of his sword, an arc of sword light slashed out diagonally through the sky. Everywhere it passed, it was like a shuttle of starlight sweeping through the sky, and it revealed the might of splitting the heavens and the earth. Chu Hen's expression darkened. The rapidly pulsing purple lightning in his palm immediately gathered into a beam of light. Heavenly Light Blade, an extremely lethal martial skill, was at his fingertips. Crack! A sharp thunder roared, and the peerlessly sharp purple light beam was like a powerful ray of light as it met the incoming sword arc head-on. Boom! Two beams of light, one blue and one purple, clashed in the void, and suddenly, dazzling light exploded. Chu Hen suddenly felt his arm tremble, and saw that the solid purple light he had released was actually crushed back by the powerful sword arc. The powerful sword aura continued to shatter the purple lightning beams bit by bit. Chu Hen was slightly startled. Immediately, an even stronger power of thunder and lightning erupted from his body. Clang! The purple electric beam released from his palm instantly transformed into a swift and fierce wide blade. It was like the spectacular scene of a hurricane cutting through lightning. The slanted sword arc was cut off less than 5 meters away from Chu Hen's body by the electric blade. Not bad. You actually managed to block me. A mocking voice entered his ears. Chu Hen's pupils shrank as a majestic sword aura descended from the sky. Mang Yuna hovered high in the sky amidst the dazzling brilliance. However, it seems like it's my turn now. Swish. A cold sword light filled the sky. Mang Yuantu's figure seemed to overlap with the radiant sun behind the clouds. He turned his hand and dragged out a beam of sword light. The sword's shadow rapidly cut through the air and dust in front of it, sweeping up a biting cold killing intent as it slashed at Chu Hen. Shing! The resonant sword cry was like the howl of the wind. The vigorous sword aura descended with the power to break the heavens. Chu Hen quickly retreated, and the purple lightning surrounding his body converged into a net. Clang! However, the next moment, accompanied by the sound of thunder and lightning being cut, the sharp blue sword light directly embedded itself into the purple lightning net. The layers of lightning were neatly cut apart, and the terrifying sword aura rapidly cut towards Chu Hen's body. What a powerful sword aura! I can't block the power of that lightning at all. Everyone's eyes were wide open. In a hurry, Chu Hen repeatedly retreated to avoid the sword light, but a sword light still struck his chest. Hiss! A sharp pain spread through his clothes that had been cut open. Fluttering blood splashed out from the front of Chu Hen's body, and a long and narrow line of blood immediately extended out from Chu Hen's body. Chu Hen. The expressions of the martial sect members changed. The geniuses of the other sects and sacred clans were also shocked. Was this the power of the Destiny Sword? There was no way to resist it. Chu Hen frowned as he felt the waves of burning pain from his wound, and a cold light surged in his eyes. Then, a rapid and sharp sword light swept towards him. Mang Yuanta brandished his sword, aiming straight for Chu Hen's throat. You can be proud of dying to the Destiny Sword. I'm not ready to die yet. Chu Hen coldly snorted. As he dodged to the side, he raised his hand and slapped the back of his opponent's sword. Bang! A dull explosion reverberated in the void. At the same time that the Destiny Sword was shaken away, Chu Hen was also pushed back by a surging force. Chu Hen's expression changed slightly, and a little shock surged in his heart. How about it? Mang Yuna smiled coldly and raised his sword again. Chu Hen immediately calmed his mind and turned around to fight. As soon as the Destiny Sword appeared, it could be said that it plundered countless rays of light. Chu Hen, who was fighting barehanded, was clearly at a disadvantage. The situation was instantly suppressed. Not good. Junior brother Chu Hen is at a disadvantage. The martial sect members couldn't help but reveal a little panic. Soon, in just a few short exchanges, Chu Hen's disadvantage became even more obvious. At first, he could find an opportunity to counterattack while defending, but later on, he was completely on the defensive. He didn't even have the chance to attack. Even though the power of the purple lightning was powerful, it was still broken by the sharpness of the Destiny's sword. What's going on? Big Brother Chu Hen's aura seems to be getting weaker and weaker, Yi Yao said somewhat anxiously. At the same time, everyone could clearly feel that Chu Hen wasn't just being suppressed. Every time Mang Yuan 2 and Mang Yuan clashed, his aura would weaken. He clearly hadn't been attacked, nor had he suffered any other injuries. However, his strength would gradually weaken for no apparent reason. Qiu Xingyi frowned and stared at the sky with a solemn expression. He shook his head and sighed. It is rumored that the Destiny Sword can injure the body externally and kill a saint's soul internally. It seems that this rumor is true. What did you say? Yi Yao, Wang Li, Wu Yin, and the others were shocked and confused as they stared at Qiuxing. Kill a saint's soul internally? What do you mean? Yi Yao asked. Qiu Xingyi sighed again. The most terrifying thing about the Destiny Sword isn't its shocking sharpness, but the damage it can do to a saint's soul. Its sword force can directly penetrate the body's defenses and enter the violet palace of the true origin, weakening the saint's soul. Hearing Qiu Xingyi's words, everyone from the martial sect turned pale with fright. The Saint King powerhouse. The source of power that it controlled came entirely from the saint's soul. Once the saint's soul was attacked, it would definitely be suppressed. If the saint's soul was injured, it would definitely cause the body to collapse. Unbelievable. The Destiny Sword, ranked 9th on the God Weapon ranking, was actually this terrifying. The other geniuses on the Wind Cloud list naturally knew how terrifying the Destiny Sword was. If this continues, he won't be able to hold on for much longer. Lin Yinghe, ranked 7th on the 5 Elements Saint Clan's Wind Cloud list, muttered softly. From his tone, one could faintly hear a trace of regret. Yang Zhongxiao, who was standing to the side, sneered. He only has himself to blame. Compared to Lin Yinghe's regret, the people from the Thunder Saint clan couldn't help but gloat. In the end, he still doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Only death awaits him after provoking Mang Yuan 2. However, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to see a weapon like the Destiny Sword. Junior Sister Xin, Junior Sister Xiaolan. After today, your Thunder Saint Palace and senior brother Lei Yuan will have their revenge, a disciple from the Thunder Saint clan said solemnly. Lei Jixin clenched her teeth and remained silent. After everything that had happened, she no longer believed in these prophecies, unless she saw Chu Hen die with her own eyes. Lei Xiaolan, who was beside her, was also silent. This kind of certain death situation had already happened to Chu Hen many times. She no longer had any confidence. That damn thing. At this moment, war god Helianchi, who had been smashed into the depths of the numinous sky battle platform by Chu Hen, climbed out from the rubble with a ferocious expression. He twisted his slightly dislocated neck, and the bones in his body made crisp sounds. Although he was in a sorry state, the aura in his eyes was still powerful. After all, he was a monster in the top 10 of the Wind Cloud list. His recovery ability was definitely incomparable to ordinary people. Helianchi wiped away the trace of blood at the corner of his mouth and stared coldly at the two figures fighting in the sky. Even the Destiny Sword has appeared. Now, even if you had 9 lives, it'd be useless. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a chaotic wave of air suddenly erupted in the sky. Enveloped by countless purple lightning bolts, Chu Hen was actually struck down by the Destiny Sword's sharp sword aura. 2 new wounds appeared on Chu Hen's body as he fell rapidly. Warm blood danced in the cold wind. Seeing this scene, everyone already had a conclusion in their hearts. The battle was about to end. It's time to say goodbye. Mang Yuntu stood proudly at the top of the sacred battle platform. The Destiny Sword in his hand erupted with a terrifying aura. Slash! After saying that, he slashed out with his sword. A beam of sword light slashed down from the sky, sweeping up a terrifying destructive aura towards the falling Chu Hen. The sky flashed, and the light dyed the earth. Everyone seemed to be able to see Chu Hen's miserable fate. Big Brother Chu Hen? Junior Brother Chu Hen. Everyone from the martial sect turned deathly pale. They wanted to rush forward to help, but they couldn't even catch up to the speed of the sword light. Gazing at the life-taking sword glow that pierced through the air, the corner of Chu Hen's eyes, which was falling downwards, suddenly had a cold and sharp glint appear. Just as the Grim Reaper's scythe slashed down, Chu Hen's aura rose, and he suddenly exploded with a shocking speed in midair. Whoosh! Chu Hen's figure flickered in the air, and he directly leapt onto the platform below. The moment his feet touched the ground, he was like a dragonfly that touched the surface of the water. Rumble. In the next instant, that terrifying sword light was like a rainbow that descended from the sky. Rocks exploded as dust, and smoke rose into the air. The entire sacred battle platform that spanned several hundred zhang was instantly cleaved into two. It was cleaved into two. Hiss! A terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. Everyone was shocked by the Destiny Sword's aura. Where was Chu Hen? While they were shocked, everyone constantly searched for traces of Chu Hen. He seems to have dodged it. Even if he dodged it, such a huge impact is enough to break his bones. Swish! Before the people outside could say more than 2 sentences, a ghost-like purple afterimage directly shot out from the chaotic wave of dust and sand. However, what astonished everyone was that the other party was not shooting towards Mang Yuantu, but towards the dueling war god, Helian Qi, who was on another battle platform. Why? Before the crowd could make any guesses, tens of thousands of violent purple lightning streaked across the sky, and a powerful and domineering force surged towards Helian Qi. An ominous glint flashed in Helian Qi's eyes as he roared, courting death. The instant his voice rang out, a loud bang rang out, and a heavy purple whirlwind swept across the platform. Helian Qi's eyes widened, and a ball of energy formed from interweaving lightning slammed into his chest. The huge force surged over, and Helian Qi spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was bent, and his feet left a trail of rubble on the ground. At the same time Helian Qi was sent flying, Chu Hen's 5 fingers made a grabbing motion in the air, and a powerful whirlwind immediately erupted from his palm. An astonishing suction force directly enveloped Helian Qi's entire body. Return it! Chu Hen's eyes flashed with a cold ruthlessness as he roared. Formless Emperor Blade. P.S. I have something to do today, so I can only update 1 chapter. Everyone, don't wait. Chapter 1427. Come back, Chu Hen sternly shouted. His eyes, which were suffused with purple lightning arcs, were surging with ice-cold hostility. In an instant, an incomparably powerful suction force instantly enveloped Helian Qi. Helian Qi, who had already suffered from the violent impact, was directly dominated by the inertia of moving backward and the pull of moving forward. It felt like his blood was boiling and his flesh was being separated from his bones. Helian Qi's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and he felt as if his internal organs were about to explode. Everyone present was extremely shocked by this sudden scene. No one expected that Chu Hen would suddenly attack Helian Qi at such a critical moment. What was even more shocking was that war god dueling Xing, who was ranked 9th on the list, did not even have the strength to fight back in front of Chu Hen. Buzz, buzz, an incomparably violent spatial fluctuation immediately spread out from Helian Qi's body. As if his soul was being forcefully pulled out by an irresistible force, a majestic sword hilt that flickered with a strange black flame was forcibly pulled out from Helian Qi's body. Helian Qi lowered his head to look at the ancient sword hilt that had broken out of his body. His eyes were crimson red, and he tried to grab the sword hilt with both hands in an attempt to press it down. However, in the next instant, an even more powerful suction force erupted from Chu Hen's palm. Formless Emperor Blade, come back, Zheng, along with a loud and clear sword cry that reverberated in all directions. An aura that shook everyone's soul swept out. Under the shocked gazes of everyone present, a black longsword that shone with ancient divine runes directly flew out of Helian Qi's body. Following that, the sword's shadow streaked across the sky, dragging an incomparably powerful wave of air behind it as it steadily landed in Chu Hen's hand. Hua! Surging astral winds swept out from Chu Hen's body, and the platform under his feet immediately exploded into thousands of pieces of rubble. Everyone's expression changed again and again. Many monstrous geniuses on the list narrowed their eyes. It's actually the formless Emperor Blade, ranked 16th on the divine weapon list. Astonishment. Astonishment. Everyone in the room had different emotions. The group from the Thunder's sacred tribe stared coldly at the formless Imperial Blade. Previously, in the formless Sky Tomb, Lei Yuan had fought for this god weapon and had ultimately lost his life to the formless Emperor Blade. As soon as the formless Emperor Blade appeared, the Heaven's Mandate sword that exuded a star-like sharpness in the void suddenly let out a loud sword cry. However, the formless Imperial Blade also seemed to have a response, as it also emitted a strong rhythm and trembling sound. Chu Hen's suppressed aura once again surged up like the waves of a tsunami. He coldly stared at the undefeatable war god in the sky. The divine sword in his hand was pointed towards the sky. Its blade pointed towards Mang Yuantu. Now it is fair. Fair? Everyone's heartstrings trembled slightly, and they were faintly shocked by Chu Hen's might. Mang Yuantu's eyes flashed with a cold light as he said in disdain, "The formless Emperor Blade, how dare you fight against my destiny sword?" One was ranked 9th on the divine weapon ranking. One was ranked 16th on the divine weapon ranking. There was a difference of 7 ranks between them, and one was at the peak of the 9th Order Saint King realm. The other was at the 7th Order Saint King realm. Although Chu Hen had displayed a shocking, domineering aura, the disparity in all aspects made it difficult for everyone present to be optimistic about his chances. Similarly, no one was willing to accept that such an unknown nobody could shake the dignity of the ruler of the divine weapon ranking. This was a huge setback for the other geniuses on the divine weapon ranking. In comparison, the martial arts sect was insignificant in front of the god of War Palace. Who would dare to fight? Chu Hen moved his palm, and a series of manic and gorgeous lightning arcs instantly covered the entire body of the formless Emperor Blade. "It's my turn again. Kacha!" A series of electric arcs swept through the air, causing a circle of faint chi-patterned dust to rise from the ground. Chu Hen immediately disappeared from where he stood. The sound of rushing wind was extremely sharp. Chu Hen was like an aurora flying through the air, flying towards Mang Yuantu in the sky. The latter's indifferent eyes were still filled with contempt. Facing the menacing Chu Hen, Mang Yuantu's lips curled into a smile, but he still held the Heaven's Mandate sword horizontally in front of him. His fingers that were lightly gripping the sword hilt tightened. Hiss. Along with the sound of air being cut apart, beams of brilliant tassels quickly wrapped around the Heaven's Mandate sword, and an unprecedented monstrous aura appeared behind Mang Yuantu. Shrouded in dazzling light, a ferocious beast over 1,000 meters tall appeared. This ferocious creature exuded a terrifying aura of evil, and there were actually 3 large wolf heads on its enormous body. Its blood-red pupils emitted a powerful evil aura, and the corners of its mouth split open to reveal sharp, jagged fangs. Dark blue chains of light with flickering runes wrapped around its body. Just when everyone below thought that this was a ferocious beast condensed by Mang Yuantu's sword chi, the resounding wolf howl directly invaded the depths of everyone's soul. Countless people's expressions changed. A living creature? Martial ancestor Qiu Xingyi's face paled. What? It's not a ferocious beast formed from sword chi. Yizhou, Jitao, Lininghe, Wei Yin, Hu Bingyu, and the other geniuses on the list could not help but narrow their eyes. It's a monster sealed in the heaven-imprisoning lock. Tang Bufan, who had killed Emperor Mo, muttered softly. Heaven-imprisoning lock. Mang Yuantu had already used it before. Although Chu Hen had broken the seal in a single move, his appearance at this moment had once again touched everyone's visual nerves. What kind of monster is this? Its aura is really terrifying. I'm afraid it's already at the level of a saint beast. While everyone was fearful of the ferocious beast's aura, no one noticed the change in Lai Xingyuan's expression. As a half-demon, he could tell the origin of the ferocious beast at a glance. The ferocious beast was a member of the Blood Demon Wolf clan. Although its bloodline was not as noble as its mother's, its rank was definitely not low. Seeing this, Lai Xingyuan could not help but clench his fists, and a hint of anger appeared on his demonic face. Bang! In an instant, the blue light chains that bound the three-headed giant wolf suddenly broke. Then, the terrifying, ferocious aura that had been suppressed soared into the heavenly river. The three-headed blood wolf unleashed a terrifying, murderous aura and swooped down directly toward Chu Hen. Mang Yuantu's lips curled into a proud smile. A mere formless archblade can't do anything to me. Howl! The blood wolf's howl shook heaven and earth. At this moment, everyone looked at Mang Yuantu with fear in their eyes. This was especially so for the four emperors of the Great Emperor Palace. At this moment, they finally realized how many trump cards Mang Yuantu had hidden. As he had said, Tang Bufan did not even have a 10% chance of winning. The gigantic blood wolf was like a rapidly descending mountain, while Chu Hen was as small as a pine tree at the foot of the mountain. The aura and size of the two were completely disproportionate. Anyone would be able to sense the terrifying power emanating from this terrifying monster. However, just as the two were about to meet, the formless archblade in Chu Hen's hand shone brilliantly, and an invisible sword intent swept out from Chu Hen's body. Purple lightning, one sword flying immortal technique. In an instant, more than a dozen extremely sharp humanoid sword auras suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. Moreover, each humanoid sword aura was flickering with extremely violent purple lightning. Accompanied by the rapid whistling sound of the air being cut, more than a dozen ghostly humanoid sword auras crisscrossed and shuttled through the huge body of the blood demon giant wolf. Swoosh! Whoosh! The speed was extremely fast, like a flickering phantom. When the last humanoid sword aura passed through the blood wolf's body, the latter's huge body was suddenly covered in dense, gorgeous arcs of lightning. When the purple arcs of lightning covered its entire body, the three heads of the blood demon giant let out extremely shrill howls. Howl! Howl! Zap zap! Then, majestic purple lightning pillars continuously burst out of the blood demon giant wolf's body. The incomparably spectacular scene was like thousands of divine rays of light breaking through the clouds. Bang! A deafening explosion resounded, and it was as if the heavens had exploded. The wind blew, the clouds surged, and a rain of blood danced in the air. Under countless gazes filled with shock, the three-headed blood demon wolf instantly exploded into a mist of blood that filled the sky. So what if it's a sacred beast? Chapter 1428. Rumble, blood rained down from the sky, instantly dyeing the entire sky crimson. Broken pieces of flesh and internal organs were everywhere. Countless lightning bolts mixed with powerful sword aura enveloped the sacred battle platform. At this moment, everyone was so shocked that they could not calm down. Killing a saint beast. Just one sword strike. All the geniuses on the ranking list clenched their fists. Chu Hen, who had obtained the formless imperial blade, was actually this terrifying. Boom! Bang! Large pieces of the beast's body smashed down one after another. 3 huge wolf heads fell on the platform, smashing through the rubble and creating one huge pit after another. Seeing this scene, Lai Shangyuan, who was ranked 3rd on the ranking list, allowed a deep sigh of relief. His clenched fists slowly relaxed. In the eyes of others, the blood demon Saint Wolf had died on the spot. It was a miserable fate, but in Lai Xingyuan's eyes, it was a release. Wolf Clan. They were originally a very arrogant species, and the blood demon Saint Wolf was a noble among nobles. The blood demon Saint Wolf's soul had long been bound by Mang Yuantu. All that was left was a body that obeyed Mang Yuantu's orders. In comparison, this was the last shred of dignity it had left. Clang! Rumble! The wind blew and clouds surged. Thunder rumbled in the sky. After the extraordinary sword aura instantly killed the blood demon Saint Wolf, the human-shaped sword aura that shuttled through the void gathered into one, like overlapping images, and turned into Chu Hen's body, dragging along the incomparably violent purple lightning. Chu Hen wielded the formless imperial blade and flashed in front of Mang Yuantu. Too weak, humph. Mang Yuantu sneered. I don't know where your confidence comes from. After saying that, Lai Xingyuan's sword aura rose again. The two peerless divine weapons collided like two beams of light. Waves of air rippled out. The densely packed sword shadows clashed like a storm. The fierce battle shook the heavens. The domineering figures of the two kings clashed. After taking back the formless imperial blade, Chu Hen seemed to have turned the situation around. It was no longer suppressed by the Destiny Sword. Two afterimages were constantly moving in the air, exchanging blows with each other. Every sword move caused the wind and rain to sway and the airwaves to surge. Unbelievable! The formless imperial blade is actually able to resist the Destiny Sword's sharpness. Many people below secretly shook their heads, and their faces were filled with shock. Yeah, if it was due to the difference in cultivation base, then it would be normal. However, Mang Yuantu's cultivation base is higher than his opponent's. This is simply too shocking. According to the rumors, the soul of the formless imperial blade is the meteor devouring beast. It can devour other weapons to increase its own strength. After all these years, the formless emperor blade must have devoured countless weapons. In this way, the formless imperial dagger's ranking on the artifact ranking won't just be at its original position. Even so, it's still 7 levels lower than the Destiny Sword. This gap isn't something that can be easily made up for. Let's wait and see. Maybe it's just a temporary resistance, and it'll be overshadowed by the Destiny Sword sharpness. The shocking sword aura fluctuated in the air, causing huge waves to surge into the sky. At this moment, the expression of war god He Lianqi, who was standing on the sacred battle platform below, was extremely gloomy. It was supposed to be a day for the war god palace to declare its might, but this top monster ranked 9th on the wind cloud ranking had made a fool of himself and lost all face. It was fine if he was defeated in 3 moves. He was even forcefully snatched back the formless imperial blade. He was like a helpless chicken, without any dignity to speak of. Just over a month ago, Mang Yuantu could not even withstand a few of his acts of war. Now, he was completely powerless to fight back. I should have killed you back then. Yi Zichen sighed. He Lianqi gritted his teeth, but the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. If he had known this would happen, he would not have sent Chu Hen into Dian's pure adversity river. He would have killed him instead. Otherwise, he would not have been humiliated like this today. The great regret and deep humiliation caused the nameless fire in He Lianqi's heart to burn even more fiercely. It was as if there was a ball of fire in his chest, as if it would explode in the next second. He Lianqi wanted nothing more than to tear Chu Hen into 1,000 pieces. At this moment, He Lianqi's gaze, filled with hatred, suddenly turned towards the group of people from the martial sect on the Lingxiao platform. Thick killing intent surged in his eyes. The hatred and anger in He Lianqi's heart seemed to have found an outlet to vent. Hey, a bunch of mobs. All of you disappear. His face was filled with malevolence. He Lianqi suddenly raised a violent palm force, and along with the rapidly exploding sacred battle platform, a vast wave of true energy directly swept towards the people from the martial sect. What was going on? The people from the martial sect who did not have any reaction were all shocked. Xiao Xingyi's gaze sank. As the chief disciple of the sect, he directly blocked in front of the crowd. At the same time, his body rapidly shone with 5 different colors of divine light. Bang! The heavy and ferocious collision of energy instantly caused the 2 sacred battle platforms to explode outwards. The violent shockwave from the collision caused countless deep cracks to appear on the platform beneath the feet of both parties. Under the flying dust, the people from the martial sect were both shocked and angered. Senior brother Qiu, Are you all right? Qiu Xingyi did not reply to the nervous questions of Wang Li, Zhao Qingyi, and the rest. He stood in front of them like a stone pillar, his cold and ruthless eyes staring at He Lianqi on the sacred battle platform. How laughable! To think that the dual god of war would actually do something like this. He Lianqi revealed a malevolent smile. To deal with lowly ants like you, is there a need to sneak attack? Since you won't live past today, isn't it better for this war god to send you on your way earlier? After saying that, He Lianqi leaped up, and a cold wave of energy swept towards the people from the martial sect. It won't be so easy to kill us. As the sound of his voice faded, Qiu Xingyi also used his 5 elemental bloodline power. His body was instantly surrounded by 5 resplendent balls of light. Facing He Lianqi, who was like a ferocious beast, there was no hint of fear on his face. You're courting death. He Lianqi let out a low roar. One of his hands turned into a sharp claw, directly sweeping towards Qiu Xingyi's throat. Although Qiu Xingyi's expression was heavy, there was no hint of fear on his face. He dodged his opponent's claw attack and condensed a powerful true yuan into his palm, striking towards his opponent's right rib. Ha! You dare to attack me with just your strength. He Lian twisted his wrist and directly intercepted Qiu Xingyi's palm energy. The oppressive, explosive force of true essence exploded in a rhythmic manner. Qiu Xingyi's body slightly trembled, and he could not help but take a few steps back. He Lianqi did not have any intention of stopping, and once again unleashed a fierce attack. This sudden scene caused the people from the various sects to be extremely surprised. No one would have thought that He Lianqi would actually choose to act against the people from the martial sect at this time. From this, it could be seen that the other party was so angry that he had almost lost his mind. What he wanted to do was to vent the anger in his heart, and the only target was the people from the martial sect. The War God Palace is really shameless. In the void above, Chu Hen revealed a mocking expression as he horizontally thrust his sword towards Mang Yuantu's throat. The Destiny sword in Mang Yuantu's hand directly blocked in front of him, intercepting the formless Emperor blade. Since it's destined to be a bloodbath here, what difference does it make whether it's early or late? His cold and indifferent posture did not have the slightest fluctuation of emotion. In comparison, a cold light involuntarily flashed across Chu Hen's eyes. Immediately, the Emperor blade in his hand transformed into countless gorgeous sword rays, and the rhythm of his attack instantly increased by several times. The sky was filled with illusory sword patterns, and it was as if a storm was about to arrive. The one with the surname Chu is starting to get anxious. The people below the stage said in a low voice, "Yes, I'm afraid that the martial sect will be completely annihilated before the battle is over." Although He Lianqi's actions were somewhat unexpected, there were still many people who wanted to see the scene unfold before them. The martial sect is going to follow in the footsteps of the cloud-soaring sect. Someone from the Thunder Sacred Clan snickered. They'll have to pay for what they've done sooner or later. The moment they stepped onto the sacred battle platform, their fates were already decided. Some people were gloating, while others felt pity. Many people from the 5-element Sacred Clan had complicated expressions on their faces. Qiu Xingyi is a member of our 5 Elements clan. Should we help him? Forget it. Qiu Xingyi has long left our clan, and this is a grudge between the martial sect and the War God Palace. It's not wise for us to rashly offend the War God Palace. Yes, and even if we get involved, we won't be able to change the fate of the martial sect. Although it's a pity, it has nothing to do with us. After all, the other party was the War God Palace. Even the 5 Elements clan, who had the bloodline of the Sacred Clan, had to consider the consequences. The 5 Elements clan was an overlord of the Central Plains, and its foundation was no weaker than the various sacred clans. This guy's cultivation has increased so much. Yang Zhongxiao, who was standing beside Lin Yinghe, focused his attention on Qiu Xingyi. During the battle on the Wind Slasher platform, Qiu Xingyi had been defeated by Yang Zhongxiao. If not for Chu Hen's interference, he would definitely have been humiliated by Yang Zhongxiao. At this moment, Qiuxingyi had already received a few attacks from Lianqi. Although he was at a disadvantage every time, he did not show any obvious signs of defeat. If it was Yang Zhongxiao, he would have been defeated instantly. He's very talented. Lin Yinghe's eyes narrowed as he gave a simple evaluation of Qiuxingyi. However, no matter how talented Qiuxingyi was, he was still no match for Lianqi, who was ranked 9th on the honor roll. Under the latter's continuous attacks, Qiuxingyi could not hold on any longer. Get down! Lianqi's aura exploded, and a terrifying palm attack that could pierce through mountains and rivers poured out. Bang! The shockwave swept out, and the 5 elements divine light around Qiuxingyi's body was completely shattered. Qiuxingyi, who had received another palm attack, felt his organs tremble and the blood in his body seemed to be boiling. His face turned purple, and a stream of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Senior brother Qiu. The martial sect disciples were shocked. Wang Li, Yi Yao, Wu Yin, Zhao Qingyi, and the rest immediately flew forward. Senior brother Qiu will help you. As he finished speaking, the crowd immediately surrounded Lianqi in the middle. Hee, a bunch of reckless fools. Since you want to die, how can I not fulfill your wish? In an instant, the aura of the extraordinary transcendent ranked 9th on the honor roll stacked, and the terrifying pressure from Lianqi made it difficult for the crowd to react. Damn it, let's fight it out with him. Kill! The other martial sect disciples also rose in anger, and they all vented their shocking anger as they charged forward. However, before the crowd could fight with Lianqi, Ward Gaji Liang, who was on the other side of the void, shouted in disdain, "Everyone from the War God Palace, listen up!" Everyone's heart trembled. Then, among the crowd around the sacred battle platform, many powerful figures that emitted a terrifying aura appeared. Here, the cold killing intent that was as cold as Azura's filled the sacred battle platform. It was as if Ji Liang was looking at a worthless ant. Wash the remaining martial sect disciples with blood, kill them all, regardless of whether they surrender, beg for mercy, or resist. Kill them all. Kill them all. P.S. I'm going home to celebrate the new year. There's only 2 updates, so there's no need to wait at night. Happy New Year, everyone. Come. Wonderful book house.